Welcome to Wife Cheating Story. I hope you have an enjoyable and relaxing time listening. Let's get started.
Betrayal has a sound. It's the whisper of stolen moments, the rustle of fabric in the dark, the breathless gasps that weren't meant for me. I wasn't supposed to find out, but I did. And once you see the truth, there's no going back. She thought I'd beg. She thought I'd break. Instead, I watched as she dug her own grave. A deadly world demands loyalty. She gave hers to another. Now she stands where I once did, pleading, helpless, staring into the eyes of someone who no longer cares. And when the dust settles, I'll walk away. Because in the end, only the strong survive. Hey, Vixen Cheating Tales listeners. If you enjoyed today's story and want to keep up with our exciting new content, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. There are plenty more thrilling stories coming your way. Thanks for listening, and we can't wait to have you back for the next captivating tale. Before we begin, let me know where you're tuning in from down in the comments, and if you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next tale. There was no need to glance back to see how fast the man after me was running. If you could still call him a man, that was. I was using all my strength to run, but he was steadily catching up to me. He must have been incredibly fast, because I'm usually a good runner. Not many can keep up with me. Yet this guy wasn't just matching my pace. He was closing in. With the fence in sight, the one I'd crawled through to reach the old warehouse, I knew I had to act quickly. I started to slow down, and he picked up speed. He was sacrificing his ability to turn quickly for sheer speed. My next move took him by surprise. As he reached for me from behind, I suddenly crouched down. He didn't have time to slow down and tripped over me, landing on the ground. I quickly stood up and faced him. He looked frustrated for a moment before I moved decisively. I stepped back, leaving a heavy object where it had fallen. I pulled out my katana, which I kept strapped to my back, ready just in case. After a few seconds of stillness, I sheathed the katana and approached again. I attempted to take back my object but found it stuck. It had been one of my favorite pieces, an original from the 15th century. I couldn't leave without it. I placed one foot for balance and pulled with all my might. It finally came loose, taking some debris with it. I would have to deal with that later. Looking around, I spotted some figures in the distance and chuckled, remembering how I still used the term yards in a world that had mostly switched to the metric system. I jogged over to the fence and found the hole I had cut earlier, along with my wire cutters. I grabbed them and headed back to my car. I tapped on the window and heard the locks click open. As I opened the door, loud music filled the air, and I could hear frustration from those behind the fence. "Took you long enough?" smiled my wife, Dana. She nodded along to the music as I got into the driver's seat and started the engine. "Hey, buddy, gas isn't rechargeable," she said, "and the sound of that motor will alert everyone around us." I turned the music down and gently held her face. "With the noise you're making, Dana," I said, "everyone already knows we're here." I pulled her a little closer. "I love you, Jer," she said. Sometimes, I just gazed at her. Sometimes I wish it was just the two of us. I wish we could find our own safe place and live without always searching for supplies for others. "I really wish that at night," she said. I stared at her in surprise. Nights were the most dangerous times. It was truly safer to have more people around. "Jer, I get tired of us having to hide things," she continued. "I just want us to be open about everything. I dream of a time when we can express our feelings without holding back. We're married, and that's a part of our relationship." That was a long time ago, in a world far away, I sighed. But she was right. I loved Dana more than words could show. We had been married for 3 years and together even longer, yet I could count on one hand how many times I had truly heard her share her feelings. It simply wasn't that kind of world anymore. It wasn't really anyone's fault. There hadn't been a World War III or any kind of major catastrophe. Our problems had come about from a mix of small issues. It took a perfect storm of little mistakes to lead to the downfall of our society. 30 years ago, at the start of the 21st century, doctors began noticing many viruses that resisted treatment. At the same time, modern medicine taught most people to rely on medical care. If someone caught a cold or the flu, they felt they had to see a doctor for the latest medicine. In many cases, it didn't make sense. There was no cure for the common cold. It was just something you had to endure. Many people went to work while still feeling sick. They felt they had to save their sick days for vacations and special events. It seemed so strange. Why would anyone choose to work over taking care of themselves? It may not have made sense, but it was profitable. Pharmaceutical companies kept creating different medicines for more and more symptoms. It got to a point where even minor discomforts were not accepted. If you had a runny nose, you needed more than just a tissue. You needed medicine. If you had a headache, stronger pain relief was expected. This made a generation less tolerant of any discomfort. Researchers warned us about the dangers. They said some bacteria were changing and becoming resistant to medicines. However, society often ignored these warnings. "They'll find a way," was a common response. And the pharmaceutical companies usually came through. In 2020, the first megavirus called Amboobala was discovered. Unlike its earlier version, this virus had a different feature. After infecting its host, the person could still move around. At first, cases of Amboobala were rare, and those affected seemed harmless, almost like odd medical cases. However, the Amboobala virus changed over time. It mixed with other viruses, leading to a serious situation. If it had merged with the common cold, it might not have been a big deal. Sadly, when it combined with rabies, things turned disastrous. Although rabies usually acts slowly, combining it with Amboobala made its effects happen much more quickly. Once rabies reaches the brain, it causes aggression and distrust, and people can spread it through bites. The new strain, called rabid Amboobala or RAB, spread quickly. The likely cause was contamination in a European hospital that was studying both viruses. A patient who unknowingly had rabies received an organ transplant from a person who had Amboobala. This led to an outbreak as the patient transmitted the infection to hospital staff. In just a few days, hundreds of people were infected, and by the end of the week, thousands more were affected. Within a month, it became a worldwide crisis. Panic spread, and while governments tried to contain the situation, their efforts mostly failed. As chaos unfolded, the normal ways of living started to break down. I've heard of cities trying to restart, but most of them don't last. Some groups have tried to isolate themselves to grow their own food and stay safe, but these plans often fall apart. It only takes one person to ruin it all. Many infected people roam around in large groups, somewhat like zombies. However, there are differences between these groups and traditional zombies. The Rabs are not slow and mindless. They still have their strength and skills. For example, a Rab who used to be elderly can still be strong, and I once faced a Rab who had been a basketball player. He moved so quickly it was shocking. The toughest one I encountered was a professional wrestler. I watched him leap off a car and take down a member of our group. Handling Rabs isn't much harder than dealing with any other person. The virus spreads through the bloodstream. If you cause enough damage to make them bleed, they will eventually weaken. However, this can take time, and they might still try to attack you. The best ways to stop them are by decapitating them or injuring the brain. If someone gets bitten, the only way to possibly save them is amputation, which only works if the bite is on an arm or leg. There are talks of a possible cure. I've heard that scientists might have created a genetic retrovirus that can change a person's DNA and remove viruses. However, I find that hard to believe. I often meet people here saying there are safe places in Europe or Asia. I also see people from Europe who came here thinking that what's left of the US is a safe zone. For now, we keep doing what we can. We look for supplies and take care of each other. On our way back to camp from our latest trip, the sound of my car's exhaust is reassuring. My car is a 2012 Mustang GT, a relic from when muscle cars became popular again. The engine is strong and loud. Most of the time, I avoid using it since my car has been upgraded with small electric motors that let me drive quietly. When I use the engine, it helps recharge the batteries. The car's roof, hood, and trunk lid are solar panels that also recharge the batteries on sunny days. Usually, I drive in electric mode because it's much quieter. I don't want to attract attention. I also use electric mode because I can only get gas when I find it. It's not hard to find gas, but I have to pump it from abandoned stations. I've heard that in the past, people only had to swipe a card to fill up. I find that hard to picture. I glance at Dana. She's still singing along to a song from the Mustang's huge music library. There are thousands of songs, mostly from 20 or 30 years ago. Dana loves what they used to call pop. I prefer metal, rock and roll, and some country songs. Neither of us enjoys the rap songs. They sound like people expressing anger about their lives. The punk songs are similar too. I check the car's display to see what Dana is listening to. It's a song called Walking on Sunshine, and I wonder what that means. Dana, that singer was probably gone before you were born. I chuckle. I doubt she's walking on anything. Dana is special, just like my car. She's short with brown hair and eyes, and there's something unique about her look. Her family comes from Mexico, she tells me. She has a normal build, but I admire her strong legs and confident attitude. I casually rest my hand on her thigh, playfully moving my fingers a bit. She catches my hand and stops it. "Oh," she says, smiling. "You're joking about walking on sunshine, but your fingers are going somewhere else." "Are you trying to stop that woman from dancing?" I ask. "Not at all," she replies. "I'm singing right along with her." "Then why stop my fingers?" I ask. "You should come with me too." "I care about you, Jer," she said seriously, "so I'm not going to stop you. I just wanted you to have some space. You can do whatever you like, and I'll keep singing." "Is that what you call that?" I asked with a grin, and her legs came together quickly. She put my hand back in my lap. Dana is adorable, but her singing sounds like a squeaky door. For some reason, she doesn't seem to get it. "I know I'm great," she replied playfully. "You just can't see true talent. You're just jealous. Someday when people start paying for singing again, I'll be famous and rich." "Yeah," I said. "When that happens, they'll probably pay you to be quiet." "How cold do you think it will be tonight?" she asked. "Dana, how am I supposed to know that?" I answered. "I guess it will be like last night. Maybe a bit warmer or a bit cooler." "So how did you stay warm last night?" she asked. "We cuddled up in a blanket together like we always do," I replied. "And how will you stay warm tonight?" she asked. "Your smart remarks have earned you a night alone." "Okay," I said casually. "That's fine." "What do you mean that's fine?" she asked. "You know," I said, "if it's a warm night, it won't be a problem. I won't need anyone too close talking in my ear. But if it gets cold, I'm sure the group will figure it out. They won't want you to get cold. The best singer needs to protect their voice. Since I'm one of the strongest, they won't let me be uncomfortable either." She looked at me, surprised. "What are you talking about, Jerry?" she asked. "Well, I'm sure someone else could keep me warm," I said, noticing her expression change. "I wouldn't let anyone else do that," she snapped. "Oh, so you'd rather I freeze than have a cozy night," I joked. "I just don't want you getting close to anyone else," she said firmly. "Where's the best place for that?" I asked playfully. "In my arms, Jerry," she said, taking my hand. "That's where it belongs." "But if you're not available," I started. "It would just be for warmth, you know." "Have you ever been close with anyone besides me?" she asked, a bit frustrated. "Of course not," I replied. "But after tonight, that might change. Maybe by tomorrow you'll have made new friends, too. Maybe we won't even be together anymore." "Are you serious?" she exclaimed. "That will never happen. So whatever you're thinking, keep it to yourself while we're together. Because if it ever goes further—" I interrupted her. "I only think about you, silly," I said. "You're the only person I can think of." "Well, I've been with a couple of others before we were together," she said. "And I didn't like it. I love being with you. Sometimes, that's what I think about the most." "You're all I ever think of," I replied. "Even with my unique traits?" she teased, holding my hand. "Dana, stop being silly," I said. "I appreciate everything about you, and you know that." "I know, Jerry," she smirked, "but I still like hearing it. If you're nice for the rest of the day, I might think about sharing a bed." This time I stayed quiet. I think my playful look gave me away. "What are you smiling about?" she asked, grinning. "I was just trying to picture a night without our usual closeness." I chuckled. "I don't think we've had many of those since we met." She nudged me in the shoulder as we drove up to the camp wall. As my car neared the wall, the gate opened right away. 2 men stood near the doors as we got out. I rolled up my pants so they could check for any marks. To make it quicker, I took off my jacket and sweater. A few women walking by stopped to look. I smiled and put my clothes back on. Dana sighed and started to take off her top. "She doesn't need to," I said. "She never got out of the car." One of the guys just looked at Dana. "Why didn't you say that?" he asked. "I thought if Jerry is showing off, I might as well join in," she replied irritably. "Dana, if you want to join in, maybe think of a different way," he joked. "Do you really want to see it enough to deal with the consequences?" I asked. He quickly went back up the ladder to his spot on the wall. "What's up, honey?" Dana asked. "Feeling protective?" "Nope," I said. "I'm not the jealous type. I prefer to move on." She looked at me with interest and laughed a little. Then she took my hand, and we walked toward the house we shared. Before we got far, I saw Sven coming our way. Sven, also known as Sven the Elder, was the leader of our group. He wasn't in charge because he was a great fighter, but because he understood what decisions would help everyone. He was also good at explaining his choices. "Jerry," he said, stopping us, "did you find anything useful on your trip?" "There were several buildings there," I replied. "I didn't get to explore them much because there were too many rabs around, but I did see a gas station and what looked like a supermarket." He nodded. "Sven," I continued, "this could be important for us since it's pretty close. The reason we haven't noticed it before is that it's one of those small towns you need to leave the freeway to find. There are no signs for it. Also, there's a chain-link fence around the whole town. The residents seem to want to keep others out, but in doing so, they trap themselves inside. There were quite a few of them there." "We'll skip it," he said. "It sounds too risky." "I don't know," I replied. "The windows at the gas station and supermarket are still unbroken. That means there might be useful things in there. We could lose a lot of people trying to get what we need," he said. "We were lucky you two didn't get hurt going in." "I didn't go inside," Dana said. "He never lets me do anything risky. I just watched him and used the comm link to let him know if he was in trouble and—" Sven looked at me in surprise. "You went in there by yourself?" he asked. I just nodded. "But you are our best scout and fighter. What would happen to the rest of us if something went wrong with you?" he asked. "Come on, Sven, I was safe," I said. "Once I made contact, I left. I didn't confront anyone. I just left. Only one person managed to follow me. He was quick, like he had a strong athletic background." "Really?" Sven raised an eyebrow. "Well, he and my mace had a brief encounter, and my mace came out on top," I said. With that, Sven just shook his head and walked away. On our way home, we stopped in the town square. Women were cooking all sorts of food on a large grill. There were vegetables, fruits, and even small cakes and pies that night. It was something I had never seen in our camp before. They must have a new cook. Dana and I each took a plate and filled it with food. Dana also grabbed a pie. I went for a cup and some fruit juice they were serving, but Dana stopped me. "We still have B at home," she reminded me. "Our community was fairly comfortable. We sent out scavengers and scouts every day. Some trips were short, while others lasted days or weeks. They brought back items to trade for supplies we needed. Sometimes they even traded people for services that other communities required. We had a large group of skilled workers, cooks, and even an electrician and a computer repair person. While computers were no longer connected to networks, we were lucky to still have radios and push-to-talk phones that worked. I'm known as a fighter, but I also serve as a short-range scout. I go out for brief scouting missions. Our community shares everything we find, as everyone works together for the good of all. After a long day of exploring and marking areas we should avoid, Dana and I could enjoy a good meal. We understood the importance of not taking more food than we needed. In our community, no one went hungry as long as there was food available, so there was no reason to hoard. Any unhelpful behavior was against our rules. If someone broke a rule, they faced a group of 5 who would decide what to do. For more serious issues, the whole community would discuss it after dinner and vote. This usually happened when someone could be removed from the group. If someone was removed, they would get enough food and water for one day. They would be photographed, marked with a sign, and sent outside the wall at sunrise. They could not come back, although there were rare exceptions. Dana looked at me when she talked about the B. That was our term for beer. A few weeks earlier, we found some and decided to share most of it with the community. keeping just a few cases for ourselves. We weren't hoarding, and beer wasn't necessary for survival, so it felt fine. Sven had come over a few times to enjoy a drink with us, as had some of our close friends who knew we had it. I smiled at Dana and nodded. As we left the cooking area, a couple of men asked if we wanted to share what we had found on our hunt. One of them was a metal worker who often tried to talk to me. "Tomorrow," I said. "Tonight I just want to go home, eat, and rest." "I can imagine," he laughed, looking at Dana. "If I were you, I might never get out of bed," he added with a chuckle. Dana and I arrived at our small house near the main gate. As she opened the door, I handed her my plate and went back to the car. I plugged in my recharge cable and filled up the gas tank. I like to keep my car full, just in case, and I also stored some non-perishable food there. The real reason I returned to the car, though, was to get my mace. After eating, I needed to clean it well. As I entered the house, Dana was already at the table. She looked comfortable and smiled at me, showing she was ready to relax. I sat down beside her and started to eat. We didn't say anything. We just smiled at each other and enjoyed our meal. Before we finished, there was a knock at the door. "Oh, no," whispered Dana. You don't owe me anything," I said nervously. "I was hoping someone would have already told you how much we need you here. You and your mom make our community stronger. Your skills can really help us all grow." "Yeah, my mom is already helping with the cooking," she smiled. "She loves it. Before things went wrong with the Rabs, she was a well-known chef. It's a blessing to be here so she can do what she enjoys again." "We're doing better than we ever have. The last 2 weeks were really hard. We were with a group and got caught in a tough situation. My mom and I were lucky to escape. I made a distraction to help us get away." I looked at her in surprise. "It was a serious situation," she explained. "Luckily, they didn't all attack at once. I saw them out the back window of the place we were hiding." I opened the window and made some noise. Before more could come, my mom and I slipped out. We hid among those who had fallen, and when a group went inside, we took our chance to run. After some wandering, we reconnected with a few people we knew. We joined a group that seemed strong and capable. Everything was going well until one of the men started making uncomfortable demands about the women. My mom and I decided to leave quietly at night. I don't know what happened to the other woman." She shook her head. "We had only been traveling for about a day when you found us. I guess we need to work on our survival skills." "Are you cooking too?" I asked. "Yes," she said, her voice a bit sad. But as soon as she switched topics, her smile returned. "You're not happy about cooking?" I asked. "I can help you find something else. What are you good at?" When I met her gaze, I sensed I might have touched on a sensitive subject. She smiled brightly and softly said, "Shooting." "Okay, I swallowed. "Sandy," she added, her smile still shining. "All right, Sandy," I replied. "I'll talk to Sven tomorrow. Have a good night." "Oh, I almost forgot," she said. "But maybe we can return to how things used to be. We've already started. 5 years ago, many of the older women and some of the older men in our community would have struggled. They had few ways to protect themselves. Now in our community, everyone uses their skills. Some of us protect, while others help in different ways. Besides wanting a child for myself, I think I'd like the respect it would bring. The only reason I'm not doing things like cooking or cleaning right now is because of Jerry. His skill in finding supplies and his smart planning make him very important to the community, so no one questions what I do. I wish I could get some credit for my own efforts. Having a baby and being seen as someone who can bring new life would give me the acknowledgement I want." Just as I was thinking about this, Jerry woke up. "Come on, Dana," he said right away. "We have things to do today." "We always have things to do," I replied. "I'm staying right here." "Okay, honey," he said. "I'll see you when I get back." In a flash, he jumped out of bed and headed to the bathroom. We were lucky. Only a few houses in our area have running water, and ours is one of them. I think Sven made that happen. He seems to believe that Jerry will lead our community in the future. The cool water from the shower fell on him. I stepped in slowly to feel the warmth. "I thought you were going to relax all day," he asked. "Where you go, I go," I answered. We went to the cooking area and greeted some of the older women. As we arrived, we noticed a woman from the night before. Even though she was busy, A few men were smiling at her. When she saw us, she smiled and waved, mostly at Jerry. I waved back, but realized my hand wasn't moving well that morning, which made it a bit awkward. After eating, we headed to the car. There seemed to be some noise at the gate. Jesse Flint, one of the large guards, looked like he was talking urgently to someone. Jerry hurried over to the gate and climbed the ladder to speak to someone below while I waited by the car. I saw him signal for the gate to open. When it swung open, he jumped down from the wall next to Jesse and his partner Fred. A very tall man entered through the gate, easily over 6'6" and probably weighing more than 250 pounds. He had long, dark hair and tan skin, smiling widely to show his bright white teeth. He looked like a classic movie star and carried a big spear. Jesse started talking to him, and Jesse was quite impressive, too. He was about the same size as the newcomer, but not as charming. My poor Jerry seemed much smaller next to them. Jesse told the new guy he would have to give up his weapons and go through a health check before being allowed to visit. The newcomer tried to win Jesse over. He talked about wanting to find a home and how good he was at fighting. I could tell Jerry was getting bored. I was, too. The new guy should have just let them check him. It was for everyone's safety. Sometimes problems could show up quickly, and other times it might take hours. The new guy kept trying to avoid giving up his weapons. He went on about how great he was and how lucky we were to have him. "Okay, I'm bored." "If you can't follow the rules," said Jerry with a yawn, "you can't come in." "What if I show you I'm a great fighter?" asked the new guy. "We don't really need fighters," Jerry answered, yawning again. "We have plenty of those already. Right now we need electricians and techs. If I could find a plumber, I'd offer him anything to stay here. Fighters are everywhere. The good thing about being here with us is that you don't have to fight to survive." "But I'm not just good," the new guy insisted. "I'm amazing." Jerry just scoffed. "I'll bet," he replied. "I'll show you," the new guy proposed. "I'll have a little match with your big friend here just to prove it." "No way," said Jerry. "No matter what happens, I lose." "How?" asked the new guy. I noticed Sven had arrived at the gate. He hadn't spoken yet, but it seemed he wanted to see how Jerry would respond. "Well, if you are some legendary fighter, which we really don't need," Jerry explained, "and you beat Jesse, then I can't go on my expedition today because I have to take his place on the wall. On the other hand, if Jesse wins, he'll spend the whole day bragging, which isn't good for my security. So since I lose either way, you can just fight me." "Huh?" asked the new guy, looking down at Jerry. My Jerry, with his short brown hair and bright blue eyes, is about 5'8" and weighs around 180 pounds of muscle. I didn't like the thought of Jerry fighting this guy, but he seemed eager for a challenge. Then the new guy looked at me. "I won't hurt him too badly," he said with a sneer. Jerry glanced at me, looking uncertain. While Jerry was focused on me, the big guy made his move. He tried to trip Jerry with his spear, aiming for a sneaky attack. Jerry jumped over the spear just in time, avoiding the low swing, and ducked as the guy swung the other end over him. The big guy had committed to his attack and left himself open. Jerry quickly kicked out, knocking the guy down. He lightly tapped the big guy's forehead with his mace. "Well, legendary fighter," he said, "that's how the story ends." "You caught me off guard," the new guy said, trying to save face. Everyone laughed because they had seen how he had attacked Jerry when Jerry was distracted. "2 out of 3, he whined. "Okay," sighed Jerry. He hadn't pulled out his sword yet and seemed to consider it when the big guy made another quick thrust with his spear. Jerry dodged, but the big guy was ready for him. He quickly swung the spear in a big circle that was too high to jump over and just low enough that ducking would leave Jerry open to an attack. Jerry turned to stay level with the spear's path. He faced it and took the first hit on the handle of his mace. He grabbed the spear with both hands and kept turning with it. When he stopped, he had taken the spear from the big guy and held it at the man's throat. "Whoa!" the man exclaimed in surprise. "You've got some skills." Jerry sighed and dropped the spear, which the big guy picked up again. 3 out of 5, he called out, swinging the spear at Jerry. This time the result was different. Jerry looked up just in time to block the spear with his mace. "Nice block," shouted the man. Jerry pulled down, catching the spear with his mace. He pressed down until the tip of the spear touched the ground, then raised his left leg and stomped down on the spear, breaking it. At the same time, he switched the heavy mace to his left hand and drew his sword with his right hand, bringing the flat of the sharp blade down onto the man's shoulder with the edge facing his neck. "Are we done with the games?" Jerry asked firmly. The crowd watching fell silent. Jerry could have finished it quickly, and no one would have complained. "I just wanted to see how good you really are," the big guy smiled. "How good we are at fighting doesn't matter," Jerry replied. "We only fight against Rabs. We support and work with each other. We don't fight among ourselves, and we don't take unfair shots. We have to depend on each other to stay safe. If we can't trust each other, we're all less safe because we all need someone to help us when times are tough." The big man stood there smiling. The people in the crowd nodded at what Jerry had said. "Whether you stay or go isn't my call," Jerry said. "You're strong, and we could use that strength. I've said before that we're not really looking for fighters. You don't seem as legendary as you claimed. Jesse could have easily taken you. If you tried those sneaky moves on him, it might not have gone well for you. It's Sven's choice if you stay with us. I don't mind either way, but we judge people more by their actions than their words. Since your spear is broken, I guess we don't need to worry about it anymore. Talk to the metal workers and see if they can make you one with a metal shaft. It might bend, but it won't break like the wooden one did." "But I won't be as quick with the extra weight of the metal shaft," the man said. "You aren't quick now," Jerry replied. "But you can get another wooden shaft if you want. Just tell them that I owe you one." I took Jerry's hand, and we walked to our car. Sven came over to meet us. "Where are you going today?" he asked. "I'm going to check out a place on what used to be the East Side," Jerry replied. "It used to be a mail-order store. Since they didn't sell weapons or food, I think I might find what I need. I have a list of other things we could use. I'll try to bring back the smaller items, and I'll mark the bigger ones on my map so someone else can go get them." Sven nodded. "Be careful," he said. As we got into the car, I felt someone looking at me. I turned and saw the new guy staring. He smiled when our eyes met. I couldn't deny there was some chemistry between us. Maybe I would play it up a bit to make Jerry jealous. Men needed a little excitement. We drove in silence for about half an hour. I didn't turn on the music since I wanted to keep an eye on the battery meter. We needed to save power for the whole trip if possible. I could see that Jerry was upset. Whenever I saw him confront others, it made me want to be close to him. I reached for his hand and lightly touched his wrist, but he pulled away. "What did I do?" I asked. "It's not you," he said sharply. "It's that person back at the camp. He's tricky. I don't think we can trust him. I should have dealt with him differently." "Jerry, he's just trying to survive," I said. I used the same words he often said about others we had welcomed into our group, and it was true. When people first joined us, they often struggled with just the basics of life, like food and warmth. They needed time to adjust to living with others. He quickly turned to me. "You like him, don't you?" he asked. "Well, he is good-looking," I admitted. I realized how that sounded right away. Jerry was quick to react. He suddenly drove the car in a different direction. "Why did you do that?" I asked. "I'm taking you back," he said. "I'm sure Sven will let him stay. He believes in giving everyone a chance. Maybe you can help him feel welcome. You seem to connect well. You both have a similar vibe. Who am I to stop that?" What I learned long ago about Jerry is that he is like a wolf. Wolves make loyal friends but can be unpredictable. They are strong, clever animals that are not fully tamed. While they can be great companions, you need to be cautious, as they can show their wild side at any moment. As much as I care for Jerry, I know he can be very forceful. The man at the camp was a fighter, which is different. Fighters know how to endure and outlast their opponents. Jerry was trained to handle conflicts quickly. Unlike a fighter, he didn't play around with his opponents. He aimed for a clear end. I knew Jerry cared about me a lot. But in a moment of frustration, it seemed to him that I had chosen between him and someone else. He felt I had picked the other person. "Honey, please calm down," I said softly, hoping to ease his mind. "You're overreacting. You've decided to feel angry for some reason. I get that you're upset about that meeting, but you won. Yet even after it's over, you're still holding on to that anger. Your feelings have turned into jealousy, and it could affect what we value most." He sat quietly, staring off into space, lost in thought. "Jerry, why are you feeling jealous anyway?" I asked. "You're the only man I pay attention to." Last night, someone made comments right in front of you, and you didn't seem bothered. I trust him, he replied. If anyone should feel jealous, I said, it should be me. I still remembered the little blonde girl who came to our house. That's different, he said. How? I asked. She clearly likes you. All I did was tell you that the new guy doesn't understand our ways yet. She's that way because I helped save her life and her mother's. She'll move on. And I want you to know I've never defended her to you. I haven't made any moves toward her or tried to talk to her, he said. So why are you defending him? I couldn't think of a reason why I had. Anything I said would make Jerry feel worse. Most men just don't see that not everything needs to end in a fight. If I said the guy was good-looking, Jerry would only think the guy was better-looking than he was, which wasn't true. No matter what I said, it would have led to more problems. So, I changed the topic. We're wasting the batteries, honey, I said. Where did you want to go? I've been studying the maps a lot, he said. I found the place I've been looking for. The museum store? I asked. He nodded. I also found that electronics store and a few others. I looked at the map. We're pretty close, I said. We could get there in an hour. It would only take us about a half hour to an hour in each place. We could be home by lunch. Why did you tell Sven we'd be gone until evening? Look at the sky, he said. It was getting cloudy. We might have a few afternoon showers. I was thinking of stopping in the hills on our way back. As he said this, my mind wandered to the hills. The first time Jerry and I shared a special moment was there. The best part was that you could see anyone coming from far away. We laid out a blanket and just spent time together. Being outside after a spring rain with fresh and cool air would be lovely. I also tend to be quite expressive. The hills were about 20 miles from our camp, so I felt free to let loose. I suspected Jerry had planned this based on what I had said the day before. As my hand relaxed away from my leg, Jerry pressed down on the gas pedal. Jerry, we're going the wrong way, I said. We're headed back home. The Mustang isn't running right, he replied. I should take her home just to be safe. I'll come back tomorrow if everything checks out. You mean we will, right? I asked. Jerry didn't respond. I realized then that he was worried, and things might get bumpy. Jerry. We got back home, and I started checking my car. I had known from the start that nothing was wrong with her. Still, it wouldn't hurt to give her some extra attention. Dana stuck around to help, but as I became more withdrawn, she said she would wait for me in the house. As I cleaned and polished my wheels, Henry approached with someone I had an argument with earlier. He smiled and offered his hand. Diego, he said. I showed him my oily hands. I don't want to get you messy, I replied. Jerry, I'm showing Diego around town, Henry said. I gave him a clear look that showed my feelings. We'll let you get back to your, cleaning, he said quickly. Almost right after I finished cleaning the car, it started to rain. I didn't mind. The rain was brief and gentle. After the storm, I went to see Jesse. Hey, Jess, I said. Hey, Jer, he answered. Jesse, do we need any more people? I asked. Not really, he replied. But isn't that your decision? I shrugged. Who did you have in mind? He wondered. Please tell me it's not that person from this morning. No, I was thinking of someone else, I said. Well, you could test him. If he's not good, we could place him somewhere else. Some people might want to do something different, too. It can get quite dull. It's not exactly a he, I said. He shrugged in agreement. 20 minutes later, I was back on the wall with Sandy. She spotted me when I entered the kitchen and came right over. What would you like to eat? She asked excitedly. What are you in the mood for? You, I said, joking. It was fun to see her so cheerful. She seemed excited, smiling like she had some great news to share. She took off her apron and left it on a table. Shouldn't you let someone know you're stepping away for a bit? I asked. Mom, Sarah, she shouted, pointing at me. Both women nodded, and she took my hand. What was that? I asked, feeling a bit lost. Was that some kind of signal? My mom and Mrs. Parker always tease me about you, she said. They say that if you start a group, I'd be the first to join. She shrugged and smiled. Mrs. Parker jokes that if trouble ever finds your wife, they won't need to look far for the reason. Are you ready? I asked, hoping to change the topic. I wasn't used to anyone being so enthusiastic about me. It felt strange. I was upset with Dana, but I couldn't picture myself with anyone else. "If you're involved, I'm ready for anything," she said with excitement. I took her to the wall and introduced her to Jesse. Jesse handed her a rifle with a scope. "Okay, he started. "Sandy," she reminded him. "There are 3 green bottles about 50 yards away," he said. "Let's see how many shots it takes to hit them." She smiled at him. "Probably 2, but let's find out," she replied. Jesse looked at her in surprise. She fired a shot, and the bottle on the left fell. "Okay, that was the easy one," she said. "This gun pulls about 2 inches to the right at 50 yards, so let's adjust for that and—" She squeezed the trigger again. Jesse, watching through the binoculars, lowered them and shook his head. "How did you do that?" he asked. "The last 2 bottles were really close together," she said. "I thought if I hit the spot between them, I could knock down both. I actually thought you'd want something harder, like hitting the blue bottles farther away or the red ones behind them." "I can barely see the red bottles," he replied. "Take out the blue bottle in the middle." She smiled and lifted the rifle. It took her no time to get ready, and then she squeezed the trigger. "Now take out the red bottle on the left," Jesse instructed. This shot took her a bit longer, but Jesse smiled and nodded with approval. "So, Jess, do you think she can be a shooter?" I asked. "Not really," he said. I looked at him, confused. "I think she's the shooter. She's probably the best shot in camp." Sandy started bouncing with joy. "Jesse, can you tell Sven what's going on with her?" I asked. "Sandy, let your mom and the others in the kitchen know that you're switching jobs so they can update their schedule." "They'll be really happy about that," she said with a smile. "My mom says I can burn air. Everything I cook tastes burnt. Trust me, they won't miss me." She jumped up and gave me another quick hug. Dana. I had gone home for a bit to give Jerry some space. From past experience, I knew that when he was upset, just giving him time was best. After a couple of hours, he still hadn't come home, which was pretty normal. I had watched him spend a long time cleaning that car, but I missed him, so I decided to check on him. As I walked through town, I noticed the Mustang, but Jerry wasn't around. I heard some loud noises coming from the wall. This wasn't unusual. Sometimes groups would come close to our area, and we had to make sure we were safe. What bothered me was that the person making the noise was Sandy, who liked Jerry. She was wearing very short shorts and a top that showed a lot. She took another shot, and soon after I saw her hugging Jerry. They exchanged a few words, and she hugged him again. I went from feeling sure that our argument would be forgotten to feeling angry in a heartbeat. My weakness had always been my temper, and it was getting the best of me. I turned away from the wall, planning to head home. Just then, I bumped into the new guy. He was even bigger than I thought, and his smile was bright. As we bumped into each other, our arms got mixed up. One of his hands touched me accidentally, and he didn't pull it back. "Please move your hand," I said firmly. He flashed a charming smile. "It was just an accident, miss," he replied. "Then why is it still there?" I asked, gently pushing his hand away. "We live in uncertain times," he said, "so every moment could be our last. When something feels nice, I like to enjoy it for a bit." "I still don't think it was an accident," I said, my tone softening as my anger faded. "Trust me," he said with a warm smile. "If I had the chance, I'd be focused on different things about you. I'm not sure my hands could take it all in." A warmth spread through me. I thought about my idea of making Jerry jealous by using this guy. At first, I had decided against it after our previous night together, but now, with Jerry upset over small things and Sandy getting close to him, maybe Jerry needed to see what he could lose. I knew I had to be careful. This was tricky. Jerry was known for his temper. He had already shown that even though this guy was big, he wasn't a threat. But I worried about what could happen if things got out of hand. Fights within the community were not welcome, but Jerry was important here. I was sure that, with a little push, he could go too far. "But you would at least want to try?" I asked playfully, batting my eyelashes. "Absolutely," he replied with excitement. "I'm not so sure," I said. "I can be a bit feisty. And from what I've seen, you might not be as experienced as you say. You said you were a great fighter. And we've seen how that worked out, he said. That guy was something else. He was quick and strong. But honestly, I see myself as more of a lover than a fighter, he replied with a smile. As we talked, he moved me a bit away from the crowd, standing close to the buildings. Actually, I have 3 kids to prove that, he added, gesturing widely. I was shocked. You have 3 children? I asked. That was surprising. Are they all with the same person? No, 3 different people, he said. Where are they? I asked. And what about your kids? His expression grew somber. It's a tough world, he said again. I wasn't part of raising them. I'm not really the father figure. But 2 of the mothers had a hard time. There was nothing I could do. Sometimes when things get tough, you just have to focus on surviving. How many times do you have to be with someone to have a child? I asked. Once is enough, he said with a grin. But it's usually 2 or 3 times. Why do you want to know? He flashed his big smile again. You want a family, don't you? I looked away. He noticed and moved in a bit closer. Stop it, I said. Why? He asked, his cheerful tone fading. The friendly chat is done. We both want something from each other. It's time we talk about it. I don't think so, I replied. This was a bad idea. No, it was a smart idea, he insisted. We can help each other and it can be good. But we need to be honest. I like it here and want to stay, but right now I'm just a guest. That frustrates me. I'll explain why later. You all have security, food, running water, and so much more that it's incredible. I don't want to leave. But that old man has me on some kind of watch, and my staying here depends on how I get along with everyone, especially with one person. He offered his big smile again. I need to impress him, and I think I messed that up. But I tried. Let's be real. I've been through a lot. I needed to understand how skilled he is just in case I ever faced him again. We were not on the same level from the start. To him, it was just practice. But for me, I gave it my all, and he hardly noticed. The only way I would confront him would be when he least expects it. From the way he treated me when someone showed me around, I feel he doesn't like me much, so I need to win him over. You can help with that. You can also help me with the rest of the group, right? I nodded. In return for that, I'll give you what you want. But let's be clear. I don't want to take on any responsibilities. From the start, you will need to convince your partner that the child is his. I was drawn to you the moment I saw you. That's fine occasionally, but don't expect me to become someone who will take on that role because it just won't happen. Do we have a deal? He asked. I nodded. Yes, but why were you so surprised that they put you on probation? I questioned. Because you and I have the same opponent, he replied. I don't have enemies, I said, chuckling. Oh, really? He asked. I can't imagine you're too comfortable with the person your husband brought in. What do you have against her? I wanted to know. It's just a misunderstanding, he said. She and her mother were part of a group I traveled with. They thought we meant them harm, but that was never my intention. Once I set boundaries, they left in the night, leaving others to argue. Our group fell apart after that, but there are many people here and I'm confident I'll find help once we finish our task. Just remember, this is your choice. I expect you to keep your promise. If not, the results might not be good. I didn't feel threatened by him at all. He seemed to forget how easily Jerry could handle him. Jerry would never let him hurt me. I smiled. Don't look so happy, he warned. I'm not naive. In a serious fight, I wouldn't stand a chance. There are too many skilled people around. I will depend on them for my safety. But if I leave, you might regret it. I'll make our agreement public. So make sure you really want this too. When can we start? I asked. I want to move forward and finish this. You say that now, he smiled. Once we begin, you might want to keep it going. But the time is right. The older man was talking about a meeting with your husband and others, some kind of council. Yes, I replied. The council usually meets once a week and takes at least an hour or two. I showed him where our house was and told him to meet me there shortly. I told him to come around the back so nobody would see me let him in. The back of our house was hidden, so there shouldn't be anyone there. I took the long way around to the gate. I noticed Jerry talking with Sven, Jesse, and a few of the older men in the camp. The newcomer was still with them. I felt a wave of annoyance. I suddenly understood Jerry's worries about the new guy. There was a difference, though. The large man was not trying to take Jerry's place in my life, and even if he did, it wouldn't succeed. He had one job to do, and once it was finished, I wouldn't talk to him again. Like he said, we both needed something from each other. When we were done, we were done. Jerry stayed away from the house until almost bedtime. When he came in, he hardly glanced at me and didn't say a word. I felt a wave of sadness. Not only were we not connecting like I hoped, but he also kept his distance. My stomach was tight with worry that he might sense what was on my mind. The next morning, I heard him moving around and realized he wanted to leave without saying anything to me. This was the longest we had been apart, and I didn't want it to continue. "Where are we going?" I asked. He barely turned to look at me. "By we, do you mean you and me separately, or you and Diego?" he replied. At least I learned his name. I didn't know if Jerry was still upset, or if something else was bothering him. "Jerry, there is no you and Diego," I insisted. "It's only us. If you want to risk what we have, that's up to you. You might regret it." "Is that a threat?" he asked, his anger clear. I felt a pang in my stomach thinking about Sandy. She was attractive, but deep down, I believed Jerry would always choose me over her. Still, I worried my actions might have made him doubt that. "Jerry, I love you," I said softly. "I wouldn't want to cause problems between us. Remember how happy we were just a day ago? That's what we should focus on." "You mean before you took his side?" he replied. "If you like him so much, you can be with him. I'm sure you'll both be just fine." "What do you mean by that?" I asked, confused. "Sven gave him a week to prove himself," he explained. "He's not fitting in." "What has he done?" I asked, noticing Jerry's tense look. I realized that showing interest in Diego was a mistake and seemed to only create more distance between us. "He annoys me, for one thing," Jerry said. "I can't stand him, and I've already told him so. Others will agree with me." My heart sank, realizing that most would likely side with Jerry. Diego would need to make a good impression quickly. "Why do you dislike him so much?" I asked. "Why do you like him?" he shot back. "I don't like him," I tried to explain. "I don't have strong feelings about him. But your dislike seems very intense. I've never seen you act this way." "First, he tried to go against me in our past disagreements," Jerry said. "You can't trust him. He doesn't have good intentions, so his words and actions mean little. We don't need him," he added. "Also, he spent a lot of time looking at you before we fought, and you didn't seem to mind. You even made yourself visible to him. If you want him, he's there for you. You should visit the craftsman and get some better shoes made before you leave. The road can be rough on your feet." "Jerry, I started to say, but he was already grabbing his favorite sword and some gear, heading out of the house. I quickly put on some clothes. I didn't have time to find anything nice. I just wore what I could and hurried after him. I thought he would go to the food tents first, especially if he was leaving the camp. I looked for Sandy there because I figured she'd know where Jerry was going, but I didn't see her. I approached her mother. "I'm sorry, we haven't met, but is Sandy working today?" I asked. The woman smiled at me. "Dana, Sandy doesn't work in the kitchen anymore, and it's better that way. She couldn't cook at all," she said. "Jerry found her a job that suits her. She's now a lookout on the wall." I liked the woman. She made me feel good. But her words made me feel sad. Jerry had done what he said he would do. He had given Sandy a chance to shine by using her skills. I had no reason to feel jealous, but I felt even worse about my reaction. When I left the food tent, the gate was closing. I looked along the wall and noticed several trucks and a few cars, but Jerry's Mustang was gone. I didn't know where he was headed or who was with him. I ran to the wall with tears on my cheeks. This was the first time Jerry had gone out without me since he started traveling alone. "Jesse," I called out. "He's not here," said Herb, a big guy who worked on the wall. "He doesn't leave until after breakfast." "Where is Jerry going?" I asked. "I can't share that kind of information," he replied. "Herb, it's me," I said. "Sorry, Dana," he said, "but I really don't know." "He said he was going to finish what he didn't do yesterday," Sandy said softly. "Thank you," I replied. "Who is watching for him instead of me?" "What do you mean?" she asked. "Rabs usually come in groups," I explained. "We go out in teams, too. Jerry sometimes goes out alone for scouting, but even then he needs someone to watch for him from a high point. Someone to alert him if anyone approaches or tries to surround him. Even as I spoke, I could see the worry growing on her face. He went out alone, she said. No one went with him. He did what? Sven exclaimed from behind me. Sometimes I just don't understand him. He already has plenty of swords. He doesn't even use the ones our craftsmen make. They are really talented. They could make him anything he wants. But instead, he chooses to explore museums because he likes old weapons. I just don't get him. He handed a long package to Sandy, who looked too surprised to take it. Then he turned to me. What is going on between you two? He asked sharply. Why do I have to be the bad guy? I replied. Because you are the only person he trusts, he said firmly. If he went out alone, it means you must have upset him really badly. His look and words told me everything. If something happens to Jerry, everyone would blame me. Not only could I lose the man I care about, but I could lose my place in the community too. I always knew that my standing here was mainly because of Jerry. Aside from that, I don't bring much to the table. If Jerry disappears, I would need to find something else to do. And like Sandy, I'm not good at cooking, and I'm not interested in it either. Unlike Sandy, I can't shoot. As I started to cry, Sven led me to the side. What's going on with you two? He asked. It all started yesterday after my argument with Diego, I explained. He was saying how Diego kept making unfair comments about him. I just told him what he often tells me about other guys, that being here is different. They are used to doing things on their own, so it takes time to fit in. That wasn't the best idea, he said. He cares for you more than anything. He has faced threats his whole life. The one thing he never had to worry about was competing for your love. You two share a strong connection. It must have been hard for him to feel like the person he loved was siding with someone against him. You should think about that. It's special to have someone care for you so much. But you need to figure things out for yourself, Dana. I believe Jerry would do anything for you. From what I've heard from Melissa and Sandy, it seems that Diego might take big risks for himself in a tough situation. I've already heard some interesting things about him, and he's only been here for a day. Like what? I asked. Wrong question, he replied. You should be asking me more about Jerry, who is out there alone, and less about Diego. But it seems Diego has had trouble with others since he got here. I had to tell him that no one here is forced to do anything. Plus, several things are missing from the barracks where he is staying. We have no need to take anything. Maybe he hasn't realized that yet. I don't think he will stay here for very long. Jerry has already offered to take care of things if he needs to go. You should be thinking about what your life will look like once Diego leaves and where you will end up. If you two want to leave, I can arrange for Jerry to be busy early in the morning. If you decide to go with him, to show my loyalty, I might be able to give you both one of the trucks. That would really help you. Sven, are you serious? I shouted. I'm never leaving Jerry. Not for Diego or anyone else. How could you even think that? I was just testing you, he replied with a smile. You got that one right, but I noticed you were quite friendly with him yesterday. You're not the only one who did. If you keep acting like that, you could lose some friends here. Some people in town actually hope you will slip up. Some guys want to spend time with you, and some women want to be close to Jerry. Others want to see Jerry with Sandy. I frowned. Jerry belongs to me, I said, and I belong to him. I walked away from Sven and returned to my house. Once I got inside, it felt strange. I opened the door and stepped in. I heard a noise and turned to my left in the hallway. In the big closet where Jerry kept his things was Diego. He was looking through Jerry's collection of items that I didn't recognize. Ready for our talk? He smiled. We need to talk about our agreement, I said. There are a lot of things you didn't tell me. Like what? He asked. Like the fact that you've been causing problems since you got here, and that you've been taking things, I replied. That's just youthful mischief, he smiled. Diego, I might not be able to keep you around, I said, but I can probably offer you something else. I'm listening, he said. How about a truck full of supplies? I suggested, explaining my conversation with Sven. So we take a truck full of food, he said slowly, thinking it over. No, you get the truck, I corrected. I want a baby, but not enough to leave Jerry. They won't give me the truck unless you come with me, he said, and I like the idea of having my favorite companion with me. That's not happening, I replied. They won't give me the truck if I go alone, he said. I'll go with you and then get out of the truck once you leave the gate. Diego, don't think about trying to trick me or keep me with you because I'll be watching you closely. If you even look at me the wrong way, there will be trouble. We are not ending up together. Take the food in the truck and leave. I'll even give you one of Jerry's maps that shows where another civilization is that's nearly as big as ours. Their group of fighters isn't as skilled or organized as ours, so you might fit in there, I told him. I'll think it over while we talk, he replied. We're not doing that anymore, I said. I don't want a child that much now that I've had time to think about what it would mean for me. Who cares what you want, he said. I want something from you. Either you give it to me now and any time I ask, or I'll leave your house and tell everyone about what happened yesterday. How long do you think it would take for your husband to find out? I can just leave as soon as I share it with a few people. Then I won't have to see him. He looked at me with a smirk. Think about it. You could go from being the popular hero's girlfriend to someone who isn't respected around here very quickly. So just do what I say. I hesitated and said, Is that really the only way you can get someone to agree with you? You have to force or trick them? That's sad. It works, he answered. That's what matters to me, and I'm not forcing you to do anything. You can say no anytime you want. Have you ever heard the term coercion? I asked. I don't know any fancy words, he said with a smile. Just do what I want. You're not going to be happy this time, I replied. No, I'll manage, he said. You probably won't enjoy it, but I will. So it'll be just like last time, I said. That's why I have someone real in my life. And if you want to keep him, you'd better stay quiet, he warned. It was all just lies, wasn't it? I asked. Sandy was right. You did try to make those women go along with you, didn't you? And everything you told me was a lie, too. That's how the game works, he replied. Do you even have any kids? I inquired. I doubt it, he said. But how would I know? It's not like I talk to people after I'm done with them. As he went on, I realized this was not the connection I wanted or needed. The situation felt more uneasy, and I knew I had to find a way out. I'm not interested in you or her or any of this. Please leave my house and take her with you. This is your chance to walk away. The next time I see either of you will be the last. Diego stepped back, trying to gather his things. Get dressed outside, Jerry said. Just go. You don't want anyone to see me with your wife, Diego complained. They'll think you're... I don't care what anyone thinks, Jerry replied firmly. They know who I am, and they'll see you both for what you truly are. Jerry, we need to talk about this, I said. He tricked me and... Leave my house, Dana, he interrupted. We're done. No need to discuss it more. But you don't understand, I said. This is our house too. Sven gave us this house when we got married. None of that matters, Jerry insisted. Sven married us quickly. I will ask him to end our marriage. You will be moving to the dorms with the other people. After all the time we have spent together, I will let you take your belongings. I want you to come with me, I said. You are the only thing that matters, Jerry. I made a mistake. Dana, stop talking and start packing your things, he said, his face colder than I had ever seen. He turned to Diego, who was nervously standing in the corner. Why are you still here? Jerry asked calmly. I knew this meant trouble. When Jerry was calm, it was usually more worrying. He had often told me to stay calm before facing tough situations. The tension in the room grew, and it was clear things were about to get worse. That was just a warning, Jerry said coldly. I told you to leave. I didn't do any real harm this time. The next time I see you, it will be different. The old man said I could stay for a week, Diego protested. I still have 4 days left. His argument was suddenly stopped by Jerry's intense stare. It was clear that Diego understood how serious this was. I realized that if things went badly, no one in our community would stand up for Diego or for me. I leaned against the wall, feeling overwhelmed. My whole world had fallen apart because of my own choices. In a wrong attempt to make Jerry jealous, I had come up with a plan that left me feeling trapped. I thought that maybe I could convince Jerry that a child would be his, believing that Diego would leave town and no one would find out. At first, I had found Diego interesting, driven by curiosity rather than any plan to hurt Jerry. Before meeting Jerry, I had little experience with love, and I often wondered what it would be like to connect with someone new. As I watched Diego hurriedly move toward the door, I felt a deep anxiety at Jerry's cold stare. He was watching the situation with a look that made me shiver. Suddenly, I heard a noise, and Jerry's focus shifted back to the door. At first, I thought Diego was trying to escape, but he hadn't reached the door yet. He had put on a shirt and was breathing heavily. The door opened, and Roy Thomas walked in, looking surprised to see Diego. Roy was the biggest person in our camp, over 6'8", with a booming voice that demanded attention. He was known for being smart and managed our electricity. Seeing Roy, Diego stopped, looking scared. "He told me to leave," Diego said, his voice shaky. "Without getting dressed?" Roy asked, glancing back at Jerry. "He threatened me if I didn't go," Diego replied, clearly anxious. "I wasn't armed." "Get out and take her with you," Jerry said firmly, his expression unchanged. "Roy, tell the medical team that if anyone helps him, I won't give out any more supplies." Roy nodded, aware of how serious the situation was. "What about Dana?" he asked. "I haven't heard her and won't again," Jerry replied calmly. "I understand," Roy said, looking at me with new respect. "So, Jerry, why did you come back early?" "I realized I might have overreacted about Dana," Jerry said with a small smile, showing he had thought things through. "I was wrong about the situation." "That's good for all of us," Roy responded. "You should come to the wall quickly," Jerry added. He took a napkin from the table and cleaned the tip of his sword before putting it away. Without looking back, he said, "Be gone by the time I return." I pulled my shirt over my head and adjusted my pants. I probably should have gathered my things, but I was more curious about why Jerry was going to the wall. If Sven had an urgent task, I wanted to be a part of it. Just because he was upset with me didn't mean I would let him go alone. As I opened the door, I saw everyone heading toward the wall. I hurried to join them. I spotted Jerry ahead, quickly walking toward the ladder with Roy. Several others followed, including Jesse. By the time I reached the wall, I saw Sven, Jesse, and Jerry looking at something outside. Sandy was there too, carrying a large weapon on her back, bigger than anything I had seen before. She looked up at Jerry as they stood on the wall and shared a few words. She rested her hand on his back and then glanced at me. Even from a distance, I could see her mixed emotions, part sympathy, part worry, and a hint of joy. I had been right. She cared for him, and I had unknowingly put them together. I walked past the men near the ladder, and as usual, they moved aside for me to climb up. Once on top, I planned to talk with Sven, a wise man who had faced many challenges. I was sure he had seen problems like ours before. I thought about couples who had been together a long time and suddenly split, as well as those who had temporarily separated only to reunite. I was sure Sven could offer some thoughts, but all those thoughts disappeared when I looked over the wall. I saw them then rabs, hundreds of them coming our way. Some walked, others ran. Some moved slowly with broken limbs, all drooling. They screamed and lunged at the air as they approached, sometimes biting each other. An unfamiliar fear washed over me. In all my life, there had never been an attack on our camp. We had prepared for emergencies, but I could only remember a handful of rabs gathering outside our walls at once. Most of the time, the guards handled things quietly, and it didn't make headlines. This time, though, there were many more rabs outside our gate than there were people inside. Suddenly, I felt that I needed to be with Jerry. I wanted him close to reassure me that everything would be all right. I walked over to Sven, and Jerry noticed me. In the midst of all the trouble, he seemed to set aside our earlier problems and followed me. "Sven!" both Jerry and I called out at the same time. "I want a divorce," Jerry stated clearly. "I want us to stay together," I replied, raising my voice. Sven turned away towards the wall. "How many do you think are out there?" he asked Jerry. "I have no idea," Jerry answered. Sven changed the subject. "You two should really talk this over," he suggested. "I've been trying to talk to him since all of this started," I said. "There's not much to talk about," Jerry replied firmly. It's over. No one can make me stay with her. I was just trying to do the right thing for the community. That is the right choice, Jerry, Sven agreed. Do you think these Rabs are different? Maybe the virus changed. Could one of them be leading the others? Let's find out, Jerry said. Sandy. Before he could finish, Sandy appeared, smiling. Jerry grabbed 2 pairs of binoculars that were always on the wall. He gave one pair to Sven and looked through the other. Sandy, take out the person by the tree about 50 yards out. They're causing a stir. If there's a leader, it might be them. After that, there's a woman 100 yards past her. They seem to be avoiding her. I'm not sure if it's random or if she's special. Sven looked at Jerry, surprised. You're joking, right? He asked. Jerry shook his head. Sandy got her sniper rifle ready and aimed carefully. The shot rang out, and the person by the tree fell. Wow, Jesse said, amazed. That was impressive. Sandy quickly aimed again and fired. Cheers erupted from the guys on the wall who were watching with binoculars. Even Sven seemed impressed. That was an incredible shot, he said. She isn't finished, Jerry said. Sandy, there's another person, a smaller one back at the ridge. They aren't moving in our direction like the others. They seem to be watching us. They might not be approaching because they're not feeling well or they're just observing us. Do you see them? Yes, she replied. They look restless. I don't like it when they're restless, Jerry stated. The gun fired again, signaling that things were still tense. That had to be at least a quarter of a mile away. That's my girl, Jerry said, and I felt a surge of anger. That person was not Jerry's girl. I was. He was taking this too far. He had promised me for years that we would always be together. But after one mistake, he not only stopped talking to me but chose someone else. I don't think they are organized, said Jerry. It feels like a big group just moving around and we happen to be in their way. We're lucky to have the compound. Anyone outside, even big groups, could be in danger. I think if they can't get inside, they will eventually move on, said Sven. I agree, said Jerry. Jerry, you need to give it some time. You and her have been together for a long time. Think it over. You might feel differently in a few days, said Sven. A few days or even years, said Jerry. I won't feel any different. I'm not trying to make trouble, but once these Rabs leave, this town will be smaller. Either they go or I do. If I see him, I don't want to talk. She did what she did for her reasons, and I don't need her to explain it to me because I don't care. How about a compromise? Asked Sven. She hurt you, and I know it hurts. But she didn't do anything illegal. If you can't work this out, I'll let you keep your house and figure something out for her. You can just stay apart until the pain goes away. I guess I can live with that, said Jerry. How long do I have to wait for this to finish? At least until the Rabs are gone, or a few days, he replied. Get me a couple of boxes of supplies, and I'll clear the Rabs out of here in an hour, Sandy joked. Jerry smiled for the first time in days. That's my girl, he said. But that was all it took. Just when I thought my life couldn't get worse, it did. I was so angry that I couldn't think clearly. I ran at Sandy and pushed her away from the edge of the wall. That person is not your girl, I screamed. Let's see how you feel about her now. The wall was 15 to 18 feet tall, so the fall wasn't deadly. Sandy looked more upset about getting dirt on her equipment than actually hurt. I was horrified by what I had done. As we watched, some of the Rabs near the wall turned toward her, clearly interested. What happened next filled me with even more fear. Get a rope, Jerry shouted, and then climbed over the wall to join her. What had I done? I stood there in shock. I had pushed her away from the wall, but that part didn't bother me. What stunned me was that my husband had jumped over the wall after her without thinking. As several creatures got closer, I yelled, "Somebody open the gate and let him in before it's too late." 15 feet below me, Jerry called back, "Don't even think about it." He looked up at her and smiled. "Sandy, as soon as I finish some old tasks, will you?" "Yes," she called out before he could finish his question. "Good, now climb that rope," he urged. "I need you to watch my back while I go up." Sandy turned and grabbed the rope. Jesse, Roy, and another man quickly pulled her up and then handed the rope to Jerry. She shot me a glare as she reached the top, but then shouted, "Look out!" to Jesse. Jesse passed her his rifle, and she started taking out every threat around them while Jerry climbed back up. As soon as his hands reached the top of the wall, I reached for him. His expression was serious. "Jerry, I'm sorry," I said. "I was just upset." "Save it for later," he replied. "What later?" I asked. "Dana, there are dangers out there," he yelled. "You could have put her in real trouble. If just one of them had attacked her, it would have been serious. What if she had gotten hurt when you pushed her over the wall?" "I was just really angry," I said. "So was I," he snapped. "You got upset because I called someone my girl. Imagine how I felt when I found out what happened." I quickly covered his mouth with my hand. I didn't want anyone who didn't already know what I had done to hear it. He moved away from me like I had threatened him. "By your logic, I should have confronted you both right away, right?" "Jerry, it was a mistake," I said. "Just a mistake. It's not worth losing everything over." "Maybe that's how you see it," he said. "Dana, every time you and I leave here, I trust you with my life. To do that, I need you to keep me safe. If I can't trust you when we're secure inside, how can I ever do that again? Maybe you think what you did was just a mistake and won't happen again. But how can I be sure? Maybe you don't even feel bad about it. What if you only regret getting caught? How can you promise me it won't occur again?" "Because it won't," I said. "I promise." "That only matters if I can believe you, Dana," he said. "And right now, I really can't. You say it won't happen again. I never thought it would happen this time, but it did. So I'll always be left wondering if it will happen again, or if there's still a problem. Every time we're apart, I'll doubt whether you're telling the truth, or even where you are. If you could act inappropriately with someone you barely know, how can I trust you wouldn't do the same with someone you know well? I'm just not sure I can ever trust you again. And if I can't trust you, there's no way I'm risking my safety with you." "But Jerry, I care about you," I said. "You have to trust me." "I do trust you, Dana," he answered with a sad look. "You really do?" I asked, wiping my eyes. "You care for me like I care for many things," he explained. "I have many things I treasure, but this one is the most special to me. You cared about me too. You just didn't put us first when you made your choices." Then he took Sandy's hand and walked away. As they climbed down the ladder, Sandy glanced at me with a calmness that made me uneasy. "We're not finished," she said. Looking at the faces around me, many of whom I had counted as friends only moments before, I felt a mix of shame and unspoken blame. "Jesse, can I have my item back now?" Sandy asked. "I need to clean it before I can use it again." Jesse handed Sandy her item back, and she returned what she had borrowed. As he reached for it, she hesitated, holding on a moment longer. "Wow," Jesse said. "I'll get you one of your own from the storage room. Have you ever met something you didn't like?" "Not yet," Sandy replied with a small smile as she hurried off to catch up with my husband. I reached for the ladder, but Sven pulled me back. "Dana, you know Jerry was right, don't you?" he said. "Sandy is part of this community, and you did put her in danger. She only came away with a scare because Jerry went after her, not something you did." I swallowed hard. "But I apologized," I insisted. "You didn't tell her you were sorry," he said. "You told Jerry. And I know you were discussing what led to him deciding to part ways with you. I've always cared for you, Dana. I've seen you as family. But this time, I can't decide your fate. We might need to let the whole community vote on this. I won't do that until we figure out the situation with the others around us. But I have to say, I never thought I would say this about most people here, but this is serious enough that we may have to think about some kind of serious action." "You can't be serious," I said. "This is my home." "It's home to all of us," he replied. "We live together peacefully and support each other. But if someone puts us at risk, keeping them here might not be the best choice for anyone. Perhaps when Diego goes to the next settlement, it would be best for you to go with him." I was shocked. Sven clearly meant what he said. "But if Jerry and I leave—" I asked. "Dana, do you really think he would want to leave with you?" he questioned. "Because even before everything that happened, Jerry wanted me to keep you two apart and—" "Sven, I've never asked for anything from you," I said firmly. "What I want is for you, Jerry, and me to sit down and talk this through. After that, you can decide if I need to go." He looked at me carefully and nodded. "I will do what you asked, Dana," he said. "But there will be 5 of us instead of 3. From hearing your argument with Jerry, I think Diego is part of this. He should come to talk things out. And since Sandy is the one you need to forgive you, she will join us too. I nodded. The 5 of us will meet in a week unless the Rabs are still nearby, he said. A week, I protested. Why wait so long? Because this is a big decision, and we need to think clearly, he said. Do you really want Jerry and Sandy deciding while they are still upset? I guess that makes sense, I said, climbing down the ladder and walking away with tears in my eyes. On my way back to our house, I spotted Diego trying to hide behind another house. Who are you hiding from now? I asked. Did you get into trouble with someone else? He looked at me with fear, which quickly turned into anger. This is all your fault, he said sharply. How is this my fault? I responded. If you had just gone when I asked, none of this would have happened. There's no point in talking about what's done, he said. What do we do now? Define we, I answered. Right now, I'm the only one on your side, he replied. I was just trying to stay out of sight from Superman and Wonder Woman. They're coming to your house to recover. I'm sure they'll end up together. Don't say that, I shot back. Jerry is mine. He's the kindest person I know. Diego shook his head and laughed. Tell that to someone who believes it. Your friend Jerry is just a person like everyone else. He doesn't have a perfect image. He is serious about me. He wants me gone. And you know what? It looks like he might get his way. One way or another, I could be in trouble. He was serious about the medical staff not treating me. I still have issues, and I could face serious problems if I get worse. If I see him, it could get risky, and I can't get anything from those who make weapons. That's what you get. I started. Oh, I'm not finished, he interrupted. As if that wasn't enough, I warned you about Sandy. She's a real match for your Jerry. Have you seen her shoot? I nodded. She has it out for me, and your husband keeps giving her equipment. From what I hear, she has at least 3 weapons now, and people talk about her skills. I want to stay out of her line of sight. All I want now is some ointment and that truck they promised me. If they give me the ointment, I can handle things myself. They could just give me the pills. That would be fantastic. Give me the medicine I need to stay alive and the truck, and I'll leave. You could even... He paused. Never mind. What were you going to say? I asked. I was thinking you could come with me, but that's not a good idea, he said, looking at me. You're part of this issue. How am I to blame? I replied, annoyed. Since the first time I saw you, you've been in my way, he said, his voice thick with frustration. When I fought your husband by the wall, I was just trying to do my best. I wanted to show everyone that I'm a strong fighter. I wanted to impress them, especially because you noticed me. I didn't notice you like that, I said. But you did, he said. And you smiled at me too. When you did that, I guess your partner took it the wrong way. You did it in front of everyone. If I were your partner, I would have been upset in that moment. But your partner isn't that type. He got mad at me instead. His annoyance turned into real anger because of how you acted. You're wrong, I said. Is being harsh really better than being a distraction? He interrupted. Or were you just seeking attention? Maybe, I admitted. Maybe I wanted him to feel jealousy. Someone like Sandy showed up in town and seemed to want his attention. She even came to our house the night before. Yeah, she is pretty bold, he said. But you were mistaken. He wouldn't have done anything with her. And if you knew him, you would have realized that. He's the type to always do what's right. The real issue was that you challenged the wrong person. Jerry cares for me, I said. Not him. You should be more worried about me, he said. I'm not someone who can be easily teased. If you try to show off around me, there will be implications. But you tricked me, I replied. You made me think you could help me, and... Listen, he said. People will go after what they want. You offered something, and I took it. You only have yourself to blame. We might as well work together to fix this for both of us. Maybe, I said. What do you want from all of this? He asked. I want my husband back and for everything to be forgotten, I answered. I want things to go back to how they were before you appeared. It's hard to say this, but I want you to leave. I don't want you reminding me of my mistakes every time he sees you. Ideally, both you and Sandy would leave this place, but I'd be okay with just both of you out of my life. "That's not realistic," he said. "None of that is going to happen. You should lower your expectations because you're setting yourself up for sadness." "Well, what do you want?" I asked. "I just want to survive," he answered. "I would be happy if they gave me a truck with some supplies and let me move to a different area when the dangers around the camp are gone. At first, I wanted to stay here because you all have a nice community, but your husband is unpredictable. He might act kind, but deep down, I think he would want to get back at me. He cared for you, and I got in the way of that. He's not like me." "What do you mean?" I asked sharply. "Look, don't take it the wrong way, but for me, it's all about survival. If I get involved now, it doesn't mean I won't be gone tomorrow. If trouble shows up, I'll tell you to run, but it's not my job to keep you safe. That's just how things are." I frowned at him, thinking he was a bit selfish. "Your husband, on the other hand, values you a lot. He's not the kind of man to share what he cares about. So because we had a moment together, you might not mean the same to him anymore. I really don't see him wanting you back. You also have to be realistic. You're an okay-looking woman, but Sandy, as much as I dislike her, is prettier. She has a better appearance. Your qualities are great, but hers are just different. And she has a special charm. She fits in well. He's moved on. He still feels hurt about you, but I think that once he and Sandy get closer, that hurt will lessen. What you need to focus on is surviving, either here or somewhere else. Maybe you'll find someone new, but that one is gone." As I listened to him, some of his words made sense. I realized I had been blaming Diego for what happened to me. A big part of it was my fault. What I did today in my anger only made things worse. Not only had I harmed my marriage, but I also faced the chance of leaving the community I loved. Jerry. All I felt was numbness as Sandy and I walked away from the wall after our talk. I didn't know how to feel about anything. Honestly, I wasn't really thinking or feeling anything. I was just reacting. I felt like a bottle cap tossed around by waves on a beach. The force of the water was too strong for me to do anything but go along with it, spun in any direction the currents chose. I couldn't believe everything that had happened in such a short time. I started out feeling jealous of my wife's reaction to a newcomer. Less than 24 hours later, that jealousy was real when I walked in and found him with her in our home. That broke our relationship to the point where I wanted to leave. Surprisingly, Dana said she didn't want that. The problem was that I no longer trusted Dana. I guess at that moment, I decided that Dana and I should just go our separate ways. I'm not perfect, but I couldn't picture hurting her even after everything that happened. Deep down, I still cared for her. Diego, the newcomer, was quite different. From our first practice fight, where he acted unkindly, I felt a strong dislike for him. This was odd for me since I usually try to get along with everyone. There are so few people left, and hardly any children being born. Normally, I try to find the good in others, but with Diego, I just couldn't do that. Even though he was strong, I couldn't see anything good about him. All I could think about was how I wanted to confront him. If that makes me a bad person, then that's how it is. The next big issue was finding out that a large group of zombie-like creatures we called rabs had surrounded our home. This was worrying, but I felt safe because our walls were strong, and there was only one gate watched by trusted people. We also had lookout stations to keep an eye on things. While the rabs were not a threat at the moment, the long-term problem was that we couldn't go out or get new supplies. As a trading community, we depended on scouts to bring in food and goods from other groups. Being surrounded meant we couldn't get what we needed. A few days would be manageable, but if this went on longer, we could run into trouble. I was called to the wall to talk about the rabs. Sven, our leader, and I were discussing if the rabs were being controlled, which could be a serious threat to our safety. I was showing off the shooting skills of one of our newer members. Sandy impressed Sven with her long-distance shooting. I felt proud of her, partly because I had helped bring her to our community. I called her my friend, which made my wife, Dana, a bit jealous. I found it funny to see how she reacted. Soon after, things heated up, and Dana directed her frustration at Sandy. As a result, both Dana and Diego faced the possibility of being kicked out of our group. On the way home with Sandy, I noticed a heavy feeling in my mind. Sandy stopped in front of me, and I noticed she walked with a slight limp, likely from a fall earlier. "So, when are we getting married?" she asked. "And how does that work?" I read about it in the old world before everything changed. I smiled at her. From the moment I first saw her without the dirt from travel, I felt a special connection. Now, as she stood close to me, my feelings grew stronger. "Sandy, do you really want to marry me?" I asked, something I had not thought about seriously before. My feelings had started as a response to Dana's actions, but as I considered it more, it felt like a better idea. "Of course I do," she smiled brightly. That smile lit up everything around her, making me believe that no matter how tough things got, we would make it. I just want to know how marriage works in this community. In some places, being married just means sharing a house while still doing your own thing. I don't want that. I want a real marriage, where we are faithful to each other. "But isn't that how marriage is meant to be?" I asked. She shook her head. "People are getting desperate," she said. "Many are so eager to have kids that they are okay with anyone being with anyone, just hoping for the right mix of genes to have healthy children." "Okay, I like your way better," I replied. "From now on, I am yours completely." "And I am yours completely," she said with a smile. Then she tilted her head and looked at me curiously. "So where are we going now?" "What do you mean?" I asked. She smiled again and tilted her head. "Am I going back to the house where the single women cook, or are we going somewhere? Together?" "Oh, we're going somewhere together," I replied with a smirk. "We're going to the medical center to check your leg." "It'll be fine," she said. "Can I ask you something?" I nodded and smiled at her. She stopped walking and turned to face me. "Why did you do that?" "Why did I do what?" I asked. "You jumped over the wall to help me," she said seriously. "I didn't think about it then. But why did you? I mean, who does that? You could have gotten hurt too. What if—" Tears formed in her eyes. I couldn't help it. I hugged her close in the street. She hugged me back and cried. "Why do you keep doing that?" she asked through her tears. I had no answer. I just let her cry. I felt that a big part of it was how close we had come to something really important. "And your wife is making a mistake," she said. "She has no idea what she gave up. That man she was with is the worst. I told you about him." I rubbed her back gently. "Yes, Sandy, you told me," I said. "I'm going to hold them responsible if I can," she said. "Diego is my duty," I said, as I continued to rub her back. While we stood there holding each other, a few people began to gather around us. Then her mother pushed through the crowd. "She's fine," I told her. "We're on our way to the medical center to check her leg." "Oh, I'm not worried about her," she smiled. "I knew that if she was with you, she'd be safe. What surprised me was hearing that you jumped off the wall to find her. I came to see if you both wanted something nice to eat. We should celebrate that you made it through that scary experience. We should also be happy that we're all here, safe and sound." "Anything you make is great," I said. "But I really liked that cake you made the other day." The crowd started laughing after that. I took Sandy to the medical tent, where they checked on her. She was a bit shaken, but only had a few minor sprains and a bruise on her hip. I brought her back to my house. I sat her at the kitchen table while I heated some water in a big pot over the fireplace. I went to the bathroom to fill the bathtub. It took a bit of time for it to fill up, while the water on the stove heated quickly. I poured the hot water into the tub and set the pot back on the fire. I added a few herbs to the water and led her into the bathroom. I looked in the bathroom closet, took out a package, and handed it to her. "What's this?" she asked. "It's a robe for you," I said. "I found a place last fall with a lot of them. I think we have about 10 or 12 left." "But there are 2 robes here already," she said. I took one of them off the hook on the door and set it aside. "That one is for Dana. I want you to have your own." She smiled and took the package. "So what do I do now?" she asked, looking at me. "Now you check the water and tell me if it's warm enough," I said. "I'm going to have a bath with warm water?" she asked. "Yes. There are herbs in the water to help you relax," I explained. "And there's soap, so it will be nice for you." She chuckled softly. She reached into the tub and said the water was just right. "I'm heating up more, so if it starts to cool down, let me know, and I'll add hot water," I said. "Let me know?" she asked. "I'll be in the house," I said, "but I want you to relax and enjoy the warmth. Think about what happened today, and remember we are all right. I want you to feel calm while the warmth helps you. I'm going to the cooking area to bring back some food, okay?" She nodded and smiled. Less than half an hour later, I returned to the house with a cart carrying 2 plates of food and dessert. Sandy's mom had insisted on helping me with the meal. As we went through the door, I placed the food on the table and looked around my cozy home. "Where is she?" her mom asked. I pointed toward one of the bedrooms. She looked inside and shook her head. "Maybe she thought I'd sleep in that room and she could have the other one," I said, pointing to the other room. She shook her head again. "Is she still in the bathtub?" I asked. "You have a bathtub?" she replied. "Yeah, but it only has cold water," I said. "The shower is cold too. If you want hot water, you have to heat it over the fireplace." She looked at me as if I was a little odd. "You have a bathtub?" she repeated. "You can use it if you want," I said. "I'd like to, but not today," she said. She peeked into the bathroom and came out smiling. "Come here," she said softly. I looked inside, and Sandy was peacefully asleep in the tub, with bubbles all around her. "The water is still warm," she said, "and it smells nice." "She must be really tired after today," I said. Her mom nodded in agreement. "How long will the food stay warm?" I asked. "She needs rest." "Not much longer," said her mom. "I put each plate on hot stones to keep them warm, but it won't last more than an hour. We'll need to wake her up to eat." I nodded. "Why don't you wake her while I prepare the food?" she suggested. I started to feel nervous. Maybe you should do it," I said. "Why?" she asked. "I'm the cook." The pride in her voice was clear. "You really enjoy cooking, don't you?" I asked. She nodded. "Thanks to you, I'm alive in a tough world for women, especially my age, and I get to cook for a living again. So yes, I love cooking and feeding people. Let me handle it." "But she might be sleepy and confused and will need help getting into her robe," I said. "What robe?" she asked. I explained about the robe, and she shook her head. "Help her put it on," she said. "You should probably do that," I said shyly. She looked at me and then burst out laughing. "You haven't seen her yet?" she asked, giggling. "What do you mean?" I asked. "Sandy has really liked you since the day you helped us escape. She always said if she could have someone by her side, it would be you. Everywhere we've been, life has been tough. Everyone seems to want something in return for their kindness. And as women, it's even harder. Every place we've been has been the same. To eat or have a place to stay, we had to find a way to make it happen." Sandy's appearance surprised me more than I expected, and her robe fit her closely. In that moment, it felt like it was just the two of us. If anyone had asked me years later what made me realize how much I cared for Sandy, it wasn't during an adventurous moment with the Rabs, it was right then. Sandy leaned against the table, her hair still damp, and her robe gently highlighted her features. She gave me a look that felt meaningful. "Jerry, you didn't have to do that," her mom said. "I brought this food for you too. I'll probably eat with my friends." Her expression hinted that there was more to her words. "Well, it's a lot of work to feed everyone," I replied. "You should sit down and enjoy it sometimes. Since Sandy has been busy, you two probably haven't spent much time together." We all sat down to eat, and suddenly, Sandy's mom burst into laughter. "What's so funny?" I asked. "Remember how I said that everyone seems to want something nowadays?" she said. I nodded. "I'll tell you what made me laugh if you give me one of those robes." "Terry cloth or silk?" I asked, and her eyes grew wide. "You have silk?" she asked. "Real silk, not something else?" "Yep," I answered. "It was from a nice store." "What silk?" Sandy asked, cutting her meat. "It's the smoothest, softest fabric ever," her mom explained. "It feels amazing on your skin." "Why didn't I get silk?" Sandy wondered. "I'll save you one for after we're married," I said with a smile. "Yeah, we'll talk about that later," her mom said. "Why?" Sandy asked, looking curious. "Okay," I replied, trying to change the subject. "You can pick any robe you want." "All right," her mom said. "You mentioned that we hadn't spent much time together since she stopped cooking. Actually, we get along better now, and we're both happier." Sandy's smile wavered as her mom continued to laugh. "I wasn't that bad, Mom." I just wasn't focused on cooking, she said. Her mom laughed so much her face was turning red. Jerry, do you remember when you came to get her? We had her seating people like at fancy restaurants. We just wanted to keep her from cooking. She couldn't even boil water without a problem. She noticed her daughter's discomfort and quickly changed the subject. So where's my robe? I'm taking it with me, she said. It's in the cabinet along the back wall of the bathroom, I replied. She got up and headed to the bathroom. She moved surprisingly fast for an older woman, and I was impressed. Can I have more than one? She suddenly called from the bathroom. Yes, I shouted back, glancing at Sandy. Can I have 6? She shouted. I guess, I said. Why would she need 6 robes? I asked Sandy quietly. My mom loves the cooking staff, Sandy smiled. She calls them her girls. I think she wants one for each of them. You won't have to worry about food. Those women will all take good care of you. I might need to watch out for them. After Sandy's mom left, I laid her down on the sofa and gave her a gentle massage, just like the nurse suggested. It was a tough situation in many ways. As I eased her sore muscles, I concentrated on bringing her comfort. I used lotion on her aching spots, and she let out soft sounds of relief. Your hands feel nice, she said. Do you want me to adjust my robe to help you? While I worked on her shoulders, she turned her head to look at me. I paused to grab more lotion, and she shifted to see me better, her face curious. I returned to the sofa with more lotion and started to massage lower on her back. When I reached her lower back, she paused me and made a small adjustment to her robe, settling back comfortably as if it were completely normal. I carefully continued massaging her lower back, and she responded with soft sounds of satisfaction. I gently moved my fingers over her bruised hip to help with healing. I found her presence captivating and appreciated her beauty. As I continued down her legs and calves, her sounds changed to soft purring, and I realized she was starting to drift off. Sandy, can you walk home by yourself, or do you want my help? I asked, wishing she would choose to have me assist her. I'm home, silly, she replied. It took me 2 days to figure out what to do about my situation. A big part of that time was spent talking with Diego. He had his own ideas about our next steps. At first, I hesitated to listen to him because I blamed him for my troubles. I suppose I was still blaming myself then. My first thought was to find a way to talk to Jerry. After all, we had a long history together, and I was sure he cared about me. I just needed to help him move past his anger so the good feelings could come back. I also realized I needed some space from Diego. Even though we were supposed to be on the same side, Jerry seeing me with Diego would only complicate things more. So I waited outside our home for the first few days. What I saw shocked me. Not only had Jerry welcomed someone new into our home, but she was also taking care of my garden and my plants. I felt really hurt. In the past, there had been a term for computer parts that were easy to add and would work right away. They called those plug and play. It seemed Jerry thought this new person was plug and play, too, since he had brought her into his life so easily, and she was starting to take my place. I disliked her even more. I couldn't stand anything about her, from her changing hair to her confidence. What bothered me most was how her face lit up whenever he was around her. I watched them closely for 2 full days, and they hardly seemed to leave each other's side. I wondered if they ever took a moment to themselves. There was something else about her that I found peculiar, too. She seemed to take pride in her job, which many people saw as just a regular job. She approached it with a passion that was unusual. Even after an injury from an earlier event, she came back to work. I heard she had received some time off after that, but she still showed up for her shift. When I first learned about it, I thought it might be my chance. But that didn't happen. Jerry also visited her workplace, and they spent time together, chatting about who knows what. Before long, I noticed that everyone in town treated me like an outsider. I felt ignored. I was so used to everyone knowing me and talking to me that I took it for granted. Normally, I could walk into the cooking area and ask for anything I wanted, and the friendly people there would happily prepare it. They used to smile and ask me about my adventures, sharing tips about what Jerry and I could explore. I guess it felt a bit like fame. I took that for granted until it disappeared. I spent 2 days bumping into people. They no longer moved aside when I passed by. The biggest shock came when I entered the cooking area and asked for a hamburger, only to be met with laughter. Sandy's mother, Elizabeth, was busy and couldn't talk to me. One of the cooks told me they were making lunch for over 100 people and couldn't take special requests. She kindly assured me lunch would be ready in about an hour so I wouldn't go hungry. I was surprised. It made me realize how much of what I enjoyed had come from Jerry. I also saw that I had a serious issue to deal with. Diego was right. I needed to lower my expectations because the way people treated me showed that I was not well liked. Jerry could handle things easily, while I was struggling just to get a friendly response. If the townspeople had to vote on whether I should stay, I would probably have to leave. I went to find Diego. I didn't approach him out of friendship. I needed someone to talk to. Diego seemed to be doing better than I was. At first, the town viewed him negatively, so he was already at rock bottom. I had started as the town's favorite, but had lost everyone's support. Being the town's sweetheart meant they expected perfection, and my recent mistakes had made me even less likable than Diego. "What should I do?" I asked. "I'm working hard to earn their approval," he replied. "Believe it or not, it will be easier for you. They used to care about you, so it will be simpler for you to win them back. For me, it's a much tougher fight. It will take a long time for them to trust me." A hint of sadness came into his voice, showing that for the first time, he felt a bit sorry about what he had done. "The first step for you is to get Sandy to forgive you," he advised. "I won't change who I am to do that," I replied firmly. "Then they might kick us out of this town," he warned. "There has to be another way," I said, not giving up. "You need to get your husband on your side," he suggested. "Right now, he probably feels hurt after everything you've faced together. It would be easier for you to seek forgiveness from Sandy since you don't have much history with her, and she seems to be in a good place. She also isn't the type to hold on to grudges. If you can get her to forgive you, it could help Jerry be more open to you. If he listens, then maybe we can both stay here." He made sense, though I did not want to admit it. "I've been doing every tough job I can around town to earn these people's trust," he mentioned. "This is really important to you, isn't it?" I asked. He nodded. "I'm not foolish," he replied. "This is a good place. They have strong defenses. They have skilled fighters who are committed and organized. I don't see this town falling apart. Our chances of survival are very high here. Surviving is my top goal. Maybe it's time for me to settle down and do something meaningful." With our meeting with Sven coming up soon, I started keeping a close eye on my rival, even though I did not want to encounter her. The group outside the wall didn't seem eager to leave. There were fewer each day, but they waited outside like a pack of wolves looking for any chance to get in. My opportunity came the morning before our meeting. I watched, struggling to keep my breakfast down, as she and my husband shared a friendly moment on the walkway. It was hard to see how quickly he had moved on. Then one of the other guards called Jerry away, leaving Sandy alone. This was the chance I had been waiting for. I quickly walked across the square to the wall and climbed the ladder. When she noticed me, her attitude changed, and she got ready for a confrontation. It felt like a silent warning that I wasn't worth her full focus. I raised both hands as I got closer to her. "Sandy, I don't want any trouble," I said. "I just want to talk." "I don't think we have anything to discuss," she replied. "You probably don't remember, but the last time we were together you tried to hurt me." "That's why I'm here," I said. "I want to tell you that I'm sorry for that. I wanted to ask for your forgiveness, and just saying those words felt heavy for me. I think they even sounded a bit insincere as her expression didn't change. "Sandy, this is not about us," I said with seriousness. "We don't really know each other. If things were different, we could have been great friends. This tough situation has made us feel like enemies." Her face showed a hint of curiosity. "Sandy, we are almost the same age. I'm 24. How old are you?" I asked. 23, she replied carefully. "You and I are the only young women in this place who are under 30, I said. "I believe we would have been friends. If our roles were switched, I think you'd have acted the same way." She shook her head, as if that idea couldn't be true. "Oh yes, you would have," I smiled, and her expression softened a little. "You care for Jerry, right? Picture this. You and he have been together for 5 years, and suddenly a new girl shows interest in him. Plus, you are having a rough time because of a misunderstanding. Her face turned serious, showing she was thinking about what I said. Now imagine you had spent a couple of days trying to talk to him, but he wouldn't respond, I continued. That's what Jerry does when he feels hurt. He withdraws. I care for him deeply, so it was painful for me when he wouldn't speak to me but talked about someone else. When he called you his girl, it hurt. The second time it happened, I felt intense jealousy. Sandy, he means the world to me. She looked at me with caution. Sandy, I don't blame you for what you might share with him, but you can't expect me to forget the years we've spent together. There are good guys here, and I can help you find one. And I don't need your help, she interrupted. I'm happy with Jerry. If finding a good guy is so easy, why are you with someone so uncertain? Diego and I are not together, I replied. That was a mistake. You're the luckiest person I know, she said. We live in a world where small mistakes can have big effects. You keep making mistakes, yet here you are, still fine. Everyone knows about your past. That's where we differ. I just want one man to love me and be with. I wouldn't look for someone else. You did, and it cost you. Move on and deal with your choices. By the time she finished, I was even more frustrated. I had tried to reason with her, apologized, and even offered to help her. She had thrown it all back at me. I glared at her, and she smiled. Dana, she said, still smiling at me, feel free to be as angry as you want. You've tried to hurt me before. Last time I didn't see it coming. But now, I will always watch my back around you. If you try anything again, there will be consequences. Have a nice day. She watched as I climbed down the ladder and hurried away. I found Diego waiting for lunch. I talked to her, I said quietly. So how did it go? He asked. I practically begged for forgiveness, and she threw it back in my face, I replied. I really thought I had her support. Let me guess, he said. Instead of just apologizing like I told you, you tried to get her to give you Jerry back too, right? I nodded, and he shook his head. Too much too soon, he said. I told you to just get her to forgive you. You needed to keep your hopes realistic. It's better to stay here and find a way to get your guy back than to be out on the street. It's tough out there. We need a new plan, I said. I'm so upset I could burst. This plan could have worked if you had done it better, he replied. I was just trying to see how hard it would be to remove her influence from my husband's life, I said. Every time I close my eyes, I see him with her, and it drives me mad. You probably shouldn't say that out loud, he whispered. Remember, you are threatening someone who is very strong. Plus, she's not only taken your place with your husband, but has also won the town over. So what do you mean? I yelled in anger. I'm saying two things, he said, lowering his voice. First, if she did something to you, she might easily justify it because everyone here heard you talking about harming her. You've already tried once. I doubt anyone would believe you didn't have a good reason, and she knows how to defend herself. Now that you've made things harder for us, you should keep a low profile. Dana, you're not a fighter. You're a strategist. From what I hear, you're very good at that. But if she decides to retaliate, you could be in big trouble. I grumbled, thinking about what he said. And the second thing is that a lot of this is in your head, he continued. What's in my head? I asked. This is real. Are you saying the woman with my husband isn't real? Because if you can prove that to me, I'd give you anything. Well, first off, she's not that tall, Dana. She's just taller than you. She's not skinny either. She has a nice shape. You always talk about her looks. I do have my own figure, I replied. His eyes narrowed. Is that the same excuse Diego gave you? He asked. Is that what made you throw away everything we had? Just leave my house, Dana. Pack your things and don't come back. We're done. Jerry, it was a mistake. I'm sorry, I'm human, I begged. Don't you want to hear why I did it? No, he said. I just want you gone from my house and my life. It seems true what they say. You can love someone a lot or hate them, but you never really know them. But Jerry, now that I'm messed up, I promise I won't do it again and... I started. Dana, you hurt me, he replied. You've already had your chance to break my heart. Let's let someone else have a turn before you get another chance. Jerry, you don't understand. Don't. It wasn't about love. It was a mistake with reasons, I explained. You wanted him as soon as you met him, he shot back. You were drawn to him right away. Well, now you can be with him, so just leave me alone. But I tried to argue. He turned away and left the room. The next day, we had to meet Sven. I felt very uneasy. We all came to Sven's house. His wife had made some snacks and drinks. We moved into a small, quiet room with a table and chairs. Sven sat down, looking amused as each couple took a seat. "Well, it looks like my work is done," he said. I felt lost. "By the way you all sat, this has already been settled," he commented. I noticed that Diego and I were sitting next to each other, while Jerry and Sandy were too close for my comfort. Jerry and Sandy were holding hands, and Diego and I were as far apart as possible at the table. "Not a chance," I said firmly. "I came here to try to fix my marriage, and we aren't leaving until we sort this out." "It seems pretty settled to me," Sandy said casually. "Okay, let's discuss this step by step," Sven suggested. "Diego, when you first came, I gave you a week to settle in. In those early days, we had some issues. Since then, you've taken on many difficult tasks and done them well. I've also heard good things about you from others. If we ignore the situation with Dana for now, I might consider extending your stay on a trial basis, but we need to address a few issues first. Dana, you're bringing me and the community a lot of stress. First, because of the issue with Diego, and second," he shook his head. "Let's tackle these matters one at a time," he said. "We are dealing with two different sets of rules or values here. The first part we need to think about involves our moral views. Each community has its own views on what is right and wrong. Do you know that most couples here aren't married? We don't require marriage, it's not a law. Dana, I joined you and Jerry together not because you needed to be married by law, but because you both wanted that connection. If you both don't want to be together anymore, you don't need me to break a connection that was built by your feelings." I saw Sandy and Jerry smiling. "Wait," I said, standing up. "Don't I get to say something? Can I explain?" "Sure, go ahead," he replied. "I know everyone thinks what happened was because of my wishes or my selfishness. That's not true. There were many things involved. The first thing happened even before Diego came to town. Jerry and I were still the happy couple we've always been. One night Sandy came over and started to flirt with Jerry right in front of me. She smiled when I said this. "Did that happen, Sandy?" asked Sven. "Yes," she said. "I had just arrived in town and didn't know if she was related to him. Also, many couples today live together but have other relationships. I'll admit, I found him appealing, and he helped both me and my mother get here. But I didn't go farther than that." "Is that correct, Jerry?" asked Sven. "Yes, it is," Jerry replied. "But there are many attractive women in town. As beautiful as Sandy is, it takes more than looks to win my heart. I thought Sandy was nice, but I would never have left Dana for her or anyone else. I loved Dana. We were a team." "And that's how it should still be," I said. "So the next day, Diego came to town," I continued. "He and Jerry had a confrontation at the gate, and he looked at me in a way that made me uncomfortable. I was still upset about Sandy flirting with Jerry, so I thought about making Jerry jealous. I wasn't sure how to do that. But then I ran into Diego in the street shortly after. There was something I had kept to myself, Jerry. I always dreamed of us having a child. So when Diego spoke about his life, I thought of how nice it would be if he were part of my life, so we could have the family I always wanted." I noticed everyone in the room gasped and stared at me. Even Sven, who usually tried to stay neutral, looked surprised. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Having a baby would have been good for the whole community, not just you." "So your real plan was to fool me and make me raise another person's child as if it were ours," Jerry said, his voice sharp. He stood up, leaning over the table while glaring at me. After a moment, he shook his head and sat back down. "You know, Dana, I guess I've been foolish. I always hoped to hear a story about how you were tricked into betraying me. I wanted to believe that all the time we spent together meant something. But as I said before, you can never truly know someone. No matter how this ends, I'm done with you. You are just like the others. You seem to go through life without thought." He shook his head again, and someone else leaned in to offer support. Sven shifted the topic. "And you, Diego, was this just another plan for you?" "No, sir," Diego replied. "I regret what I did, but I've always done what I had to in order to get by. I wanted to stay here, so I was willing to do anything to make that happen. I was in a tough spot. I knew you were neutral about me, but Jerry couldn't stand me. I needed a way to win him over. He had a weakness, just as he does now." Jerry stood up, looking furious. "Let's go outside so you can show me this so-called weakness," he snapped. "Not that kind of weakness, Jerry," Diego said. "Plus, you could easily overpower me. I'm still not quite myself after everything that happened. You have the same weaknesses now as before. The difference is who is involved. When I first got here, Dana was your weakness. It was clear you would do anything for her. I thought if I did something for her or had something against her, she could persuade you to ignore what I did. I regret that. I also apologize for how I handled things when we fought at the wall. I was desperate. I wasn't used to caring for anyone but myself." Silence filled the room for a long moment. Then Sven looked at Jerry. "All right," Jerry finally said, his anger obvious. "He can stay, for now. If I put myself in his position, I might have done some of those things too. That doesn't change how I feel about her," he said, pointing at me. "I want my divorce, and I don't want anything to do with her ever again," he said coldly. "Jerry, no," I shouted. "You have to forgive me. How can you let him stay but not me? It's because of her, isn't it? I should have acted sooner." "Diego isn't the one who claimed to care for me, Dana," Jerry responded. "Diego isn't the person I shared my life with for all those years only to feel let down. Dana, if you so much as look at her in a certain way, there will be serious consequences." Jerry reached for his sword and then realized he had left it at home since weapons weren't allowed in meetings. At that moment, I understood that I had lost him forever, and someone would feel the effects of my loss. "Okay, let's all take a breath," said Sven. "We have a situation. I need to find a solution." He looked at everyone around the table. "Diego, you've said you want to stay here," he said thoughtfully. "I need you to do something for me. We have a group that we trade with regularly in an area they used to call the River Walk. Dana should know the way there. She has traveled there with Jerry many times." "So you're sending me to them?" Diego said sadly. "I guess it's a new beginning." "No," Sven replied. "You misunderstood. This is a task for you. I want you to take supplies to Riverwalk and bring back what they want to trade with us. You will return, but Dana will not." My heart sank at his words. "What do you mean, Sven?" I exclaimed. "I've been here much longer than he has. Remember, I was the one he tricked. I'm the one who suffered." "Dana, this is not about your past with him," Sven insisted. "You tried to hurt a member of our group. You did it in a very wrong way. You pushed her while she wasn't looking. No one here will trust you again. I won't tell the folks at Riverwalk what you did. You will have a fresh start there." "How can I have a fresh start?" I sighed. "Everyone knows Jerry and I are together. If I arrive there alone, the first question will be about Jerry and why we're not together." Suddenly, a thought crossed my mind, and I turned to Jerry. "Do you remember what you told me last week?" I asked. "That feels like ages ago," he replied. "Have a nice life." "I can't believe you, Jerry," I said. "This is just hard to understand." "Never again," he smirked. I pushed the doors open and walked out. In the following days, the number of Rabs outside the walls decreased as they wandered off or turned on each other. We discussed what to do about the many bodies left around. We decided to send groups out to clean them up. We were unsure what burying them would do to the land. For me, it was a very stressful time. I knew this time would be different from my first marriage, and nearly everyone in town was looking forward to it. The only person who wasn't was someone I once cared for deeply, and now it was hard to be near them. I felt restless, but then an opportunity to distract myself came up. Sven met me and Jesse at the wall one morning to tell us that we received a call on the radio. One of our trucks, filled with supplies, was nearby but had seen many Rabs around the area. They were unsure if it was safe to open the door to get the truck inside. "What do you think?" Sven asked. "Finally a chance to get back to work," I said. "What do you have in mind?" Sven asked. I explained my plan. He looked at me with doubt but nodded. "Are you okay working with Dana one last time?" he asked. "No," I replied. "I have someone else in mind." Things were going to move too fast for that. I went back to the house and gently woke Sandy. When she opened her eyes and saw me, she smiled. "I knew you couldn't wait until tomorrow after the wedding," she said playfully. "Come on in." "Hold that thought," I replied. "What I need you to do is get dressed so we can get to work. You'll need to pick some things you think will be good for our plans." "We're going fishing," I teased. "Jerry, there's no water around here," she said, looking confused. "We're not fishing for fish," I explained. "We're looking for crabs." "What are we going to use as bait?" she asked. "Me," I said with a smile. An hour later, just as the sun began to rise, I told Sven to call for the truck and ask the driver to come slowly. From their position, they needed to stay hidden from the crabs around the area, so it would take a bit of time to get close enough for our plan. Jesse shook his head as he watched me. "You're crazy," he said. "What are you wearing? Shouldn't you have your jacket on?" I smiled back at him. "Jess, I've wanted to try this out for a while," I said, rolling my sleeve up. "Where did you get that?" he asked. "Is there more?" "I found it on my last trip," I explained. "That's why I wanted to go back to that store. They have lots of protective gear plus different types of chainmail. This one is made of tiny links and is very light and flexible. It gives great protection, which we need for what we're dealing with." "Where's the other shirt and pants?" he asked, looking over at Sandy. "Somehow I expected that," he said. "You can't blame a guy for trying." Jesse had 6 men who would be helping him. If everything went well, they'd barely have anything to do. Jesse and his team had been making sure everyone in town was safely inside. Besides the cooking staff, who were always up early to prepare breakfast, almost everyone else was still asleep. Sandy and I got into my car to wait for the signal. 3 men stood on either side of my car in front of the big gate. Jesse took a position above the gate to watch. Across the area, directly opposite from the gate, Roy Thomas and some of his men stood at a guardhouse. The guardhouse had large speakers, and we set up a generator nearby to power them. Jesse signaled to Roy, who then played music through the loudspeakers. It was one of my favorite songs. I had shared it with Roy. It was from the 1980s by an English band called Grim Reaper. It was a lively song called "Rock You to Hell." The music was loud and grabbed the attention of all the crabs near the building, pulling them toward that side and away from the gate. They moved to the back of the complex. With many of them on their way there, the gate opened, and Jesse gave me a sign and a thumbs up. I pressed the gas pedal, and my Mustang drove out of the gate, which shut quickly behind us. I drove slowly around the complex, staying about 50 yards away. When the gate closed, Roy noticed the Mustang and turned off his speakers. I turned on the speakers we had in the trunk. The volume was lower but still loud, continuing the same song. The crabs outside the wall turned and followed the Mustang as I drove away from the complex. I drove slowly on purpose. I needed to keep their attention while making sure Sandy could get into position safely. When I reached my target area, the quickest few crabs were about 50 to 60 yards away. I opened the door and helped Sandy climb into the big tree we had parked under. "Is this how all our outings are going to be?" she asked, quickly moving up to safety among the branches. We believed the crabs couldn't climb trees, so she should be safe. Even if they saw her, they wouldn't recognize her pointing her weapon at them as a threat. That thought filled my mind as the first group of crabs reached me. I slid over the hood of my car, forcing the 3 of them to walk around it. This spread them out enough for me to deal with them one at a time. The first one was a big man who came at me loudly. I quickly used my mace to handle him. I turned to see another one approaching, but Sandy stepped in. "Don't get greedy," I heard her say through the earpiece. "Keeping you safe is my job." Dana, I jumped to my feet, moving faster than I ever had. In the dark, I heard Jerry's favorite song playing loudly. It was one of those catchy 80s songs known for its strong guitar sounds and powerful singing. He often said this song would be perfect for a big moment. I quickly put on a sweatshirt and jeans and rushed out of the dorm building where I had been staying. I felt really frustrated, especially since I was stuck with other people while that man was in my house with my husband. As I stepped out into the streets, I saw many people leaving their buildings trying to figure out what was going on. Even though I had mixed feelings about Jerry, I still felt drawn to him. Just the day before, he had picked someone else over me, and that made me want to face the situation even more. Thankfully, most of the town's people were focusing on their daily routines instead of understanding the real reason for the chaos. While security teams were telling everyone to go back indoors for safety, they didn't notice me and let me pass. I reached the gate, only to find the music had lowered and was coming from another direction. Used to the activity at the gate, I automatically headed that way. "Jesse, what is happening?" I called out. "Get back to where you're staying. he said. "Jesse, where's Jerry?" I asked again. He shook his head. "Go to the rear guard tower," he instructed. I started running. The look on Jesse's face showed that something serious was happening. He often sent Jerry and me on risky missions, but this time he seemed genuinely worried. I believed he wanted me to find Jerry for one last chance to see him. I ran to the rear guard tower without being stopped. Climbing the ladder, I saw Sven and Roy on the walkway. In the distance, I spotted Jerry's car, at least 150 to 200 yards away, and the music seemed to be coming from it. All the security forces that had been around our area were moving toward the car. My heart dropped, and I felt tears forming as I understood what was happening. I grabbed Sven and said, "What is he doing out there?" Roy had to hold me back before I got too worked up. Didn't they see that the car wouldn't protect him? All anyone had to do was break the windows, and they could pull Jerry out and hurt him. I tried to reach for Sven again. Jerry wasn't even inside the car. He was outside. I grabbed the binoculars from the shelf and focused them on him. Jerry was in his element. He jumped and twirled, interacting with the security forces. I put down the binoculars and shot an annoyed glance at Sven, who explained that Diego had climbed up beside us. "It was his idea," said Sven. "We needed a distraction to draw the security away from the gate so the truck, now 2 of them, could get in safely. He won't be out there long, but we needed those supplies. We're running low on food, fuel, and other essentials." "You let him go out there alone?" I asked, shocked. "You're all scared." "It was his plan," Sven replied. "We needed almost every other fighter at the gate in case any of the security forces didn't take the bait and tried to get into the complex. If just one of those guys got in here, it would be the end for us." "If you needed every fighter available," Diego started. "You said it yourself yesterday," Sven continued. "You're still not moving well, and you sent him out there without anyone to help," I argued. "Where are the shooters?" "Dana, who do we have that can shoot from that distance?" Sven asked. "What about Barbie?" I exclaimed. "What about his girlfriend? She should be at the wall right now." "Dana, that isn't possible," Sven replied. "Why not?" I pressed. He took the binoculars from Diego and handed them to me. "Look closely," Sven said softly. "If you really observe, you'll see that sometimes rabs around him fall without him touching them. Now look up into the tree, maybe 10 feet up." That's when I noticed her. Sandy was sitting in the tree behind him with a rifle, shooting accurately. I realized that I had been replaced. When I had been Jerry's spotter, I called out when someone approached him from a distance. Sandy was right there with him, taking out anyone in her line of sight. She was much better suited for the job than I had ever been. Then I heard Roy speaking into his radio. "As far as I can see, we are clear back here. They are all heading for Jerry and Sandy. Bring them in. I'll get Team 2 ready," he said. I saw 2 guys by the ladder start to move as Roy signaled them. Across the area, the big gate opened and a truck drove inside. The gate stayed open, and a second truck followed shortly after. Jesse and his crew, along with a few fighters and 3 watchers on the wall, made sure no rabs got in. "Clear!" someone shouted over Roy's radio. Roy shot a flare into the air. It caught the attention of several rabs near Jerry, but he kept fighting. Sandy took down several nearby rabs, and then Jerry did something to stop the music from his car. A moment later, Roy turned the music on loud from the big speakers. Some rabs at the back of the group turned towards the wall. Jerry used this chance to climb up into the tree. When the rabs near him realized they couldn't reach him, they lost interest. The 2 guys by Roy lowered themselves on ropes and hurried towards the group of rabs. As the rabs chased after them, they completely forgot about Jerry. I watched as Jerry jumped down from the tree and helped Sandy down too. They got into his car and drove towards the front gate. The Mustang moved quickly and quietly. Jerry and Sandy were safely inside before the rabs got to the back guard tower. The 2 men outside the wall climbed back up on their ropes, and everything returned to normal with no one hurt. Jerry and Sandy had really made a big change by getting rid of a lot of rabs. When the gate shut, everyone in the area, including the truck crews, gathered around Jerry and Sandy. It felt like a scene from a movie. She stood there with a rifle in one hand and held onto Jerry's hand tightly with the other. He had a can of mace in one hand and was also holding her hand. The crowd cheered and reached out to touch them. I felt a wave of frustration. The cheers went on for a long time, and I couldn't stop thinking that it should have been me by his side. All that applause should have been mine. It could have been if that dishonest person hadn't come between us. All day long, the town buzzed about the wedding happening the next day. I was hurt. I even heard people asking why Jerry and I never had a big wedding. That made me smile briefly until someone mentioned that he didn't love me as much as he loved Sandy. They added that I was nice, but Sandy was beautiful. I had never liked Sandy since I first saw her. But that morning, watching my former friends and family fawn over her while ignoring me made me realize I had to outshine her. Even Diego seemed to be on her side. He didn't see that both of us were being treated as outsiders. To take charge, I needed to get Diego's attention. I thought of a plan. It was a little sneaky, but he owed me that much since his actions had affected my life here. I found my way to the garden area and spotted Lana working on the tomato plants. I asked if she needed help, but she shrugged. "You've never gardened before," she said. "It's not hard, but bending down for a long time can be tough." "I just needed to stay busy," I replied. "I'm trying to distract myself from the wedding tomorrow." I was going to spend the day with Diego, but he took a break. Her eyes grew wide in surprise. "Men can't keep up with us for long," I joked. "But you know that, right?" She looked away, uncomfortable discussing relationships. After pulling weeds for a few minutes, I let out a loud sigh. "Whew," I said. "How do you do this for so long? I need a break." I stood up and made my way to my dorm. On my way, I spotted Diego and pulled him along with me. "What are you doing?" he asked, smiling. As he talked about learning to drive the truck and read the map for our trip, I glanced around. Lana had left the garden, and I had a good idea of where she might be. "Where are we going?" he asked. "To the dorms," I replied playfully. "We need to prepare for our trip in a different way." "I'm not helping you take anything from that room," he said, looking at me with doubt. I thought it was always those with a past who tried to act so good. "We're not taking anything," I promised, holding his arm again. "We just need to get to know each other better for our trip." "But," he paused, stopping in the middle of the street. "But what?" I asked. "Don't you like the idea of being together while we travel?" "But, He glanced around, unsure. "That's all done," I said. "Jerry and I are not together anymore. He doesn't mind if we see each other now. I am ready to welcome my future. Riverwalk is a new beginning for me. I just don't feel like I belong here anymore." When we got to my dorm, it was quiet since most people were at work. I changed into something more relaxed, hoping to make things easier for both of us. Diego was not acting how I hoped, and I wanted to escape the awkwardness, even if just for a moment. I kept looking out the window, waiting for a good moment. Then, I made my move. "Come on, Diego. What are you waiting for?" I encouraged gently. "Let's get started." "What about warming up first?" he asked. "No time for that," I said. "I just want to get going." Diego got ready, and it felt a little intense. Before he could do anything further, the door swung open. I quickly moved, creating a bit of a scene as Anita walked in. Anita came in, clearly upset, and expressed her feelings with great passion. Diego turned to her, surprised by her sudden arrival. She confronted him, and he tried to reply, but things escalated quickly, leading to a brief struggle. As chaos unfolded, I watched closely, seeing the growing tensions. Diego found himself in a tough spot, and I could sense the pressure on him. Soon enough, Anita returned with others, visibly upset and sharing her side of the story. "There he is!" Anita exclaimed. "When I walked in, he was with Dana." "Oh, it wasn't what you think," I clarified softly. "We just found ourselves in an unexpected situation." "But he's a man," Jessie said. "He should never hurt a woman." "He's been hurt before," I explained. "He wasn't the one to start it. Anita had been aggressive before everything escalated. His reaction was just to protect himself. From my time with this group, I knew how to handle their feelings. I aimed to defend Diego. I understood that Anita's feelings for him made her react strongly when she saw what happened. Sven, noticing Anita's distress, felt protective of her. He was very worried about her. Jessie, who was quite big and married, had always liked Anita, so I knew that if he showed up, he'd be quite upset too. I stared down at the floor, feeling a bit ashamed. "I don't know what happened, Dana," said Sven, "but now I see why Jerry was upset with you. He really cared about you. You seemed to struggle around him. And Diego, perhaps I rushed to judge you. Maybe Riverwalk is the place for you after all." "But," Diego began, "I also think I can arrange for Jerry and Sandy to keep things busy so you can leave early tomorrow before the wedding," Sven said. "You should pack your things tonight. You won't need much since neither of you will be coming back. Take the truck and supplies as my gift to you. I'll say goodbye now, just in case I don't see you again." "Don't we need to be marked in some way before we go?" I asked innocently. "You don't need to worry about us recognizing you if you come back," he replied. "I'll always remember you both, and Jerry will remember you long after I'm gone." He exited, slamming the door behind him. "I'm ruined," Diego cried. "I was trying so hard to fit in, and now I can't come back either. I had everything. I was making my place here. I even had a bond with someone. I had a good life, and now it's gone. All of it was a mistake." "Welcome to the club," I said plainly. "Stop complaining. Be strong." He looked at me in surprise. I was sitting on the bed, smiling. "You planned this," he said. "Took you a while to realize that," I replied. "I'll write Sven a letter saying you'll cooperate with me. You can have your life back, but you need to do a few things that might not be easy for you." "I'm not going to hurt anyone or take anything," he insisted. "Come on," I said. "You're acting like someone who just turned their life around. You need to think about what you want. If you want to be back in a good situation, you better be ready to act when I say so." The night before our wedding was hard for both Sandy and me. We shared a bed for the first time. But when I say shared, I mean it was a long, restless night. Sandy came to my bed in simple pajamas. "I don't want to sleep without you again," she said. As she settled beside me, I wrapped my arms around her, and we enjoyed a warm moment together. "Sandy," I murmured. "This is all about willpower," she said. "I want you just as much, maybe even more. If you want me tonight instead of waiting until tomorrow, it'll just be our secret." She pulled me close and we shared a sweet kiss. It felt kind and gentle, and before I knew it, we were lost in each other's warmth, enjoying the moment. But that was as far as we went. We both wanted the next day to be something truly special. That's why we had waited so long. We fell asleep in each other's arms, dreaming wonderful dreams about our life together. Even in a world filled with sadness and challenges, true love finds a way. But when we woke up, the world was still as tough as we both knew it to be. The loud banging on our door jolted us awake. I stumbled to the door feeling tired and groggy. When I opened it, I saw Gwen Stevens, one of the cooks. "Hi, Jerry. Can you tell Elizabeth to come here? We need her help with the big cake decoration." Sandy came to stand next to me. "Wow," said Gwen. "You two spent the night together, didn't you?" "We didn't do anything special," Sandy replied firmly. "Sure," Gwen teased. "Anyway, tell your mom." "We really didn't," Sandy interrupted. "You aren't supposed to see each other before the wedding," Gwen said. "That's not right," Sandy argued. "We won't be apart for long no matter what." "Okay," Gwen said, her tone softening. "Maybe you didn't do anything. But you should talk soon before you both get too anxious." Sandy and I exchanged a quick kiss. "That is so sweet," Gwen said. "Have your mom come to the kitchen right away?" "Wait, Gwen," Sandy said. "Mom didn't stay here last night. She thinks like everyone else that we're busy." "All right, I'll get a search party then," she said. "None of us knows where she is." As she turned to leave, she spotted a folded note on the floor and picked it up. "Looks like someone left a wedding greeting for you," she said, handing it to Sandy. Sandy opened the note and her face changed, filled with worry as tears welled up in her eyes. I quickly took the note from her. I assumed it was a lovely message from someone congratulating us. Most of us could read, but only a few could write well. In messy handwriting, I recognized instantly Dana had written, "Hello. This should be a happy day for you. But it won't be. I've taken someone important to you. I want you to come to the big tree near the gate as soon as you can. Don't waste time planning. I can't wait. If you don't come, I'll hurt her. If you come, she might still be in danger. Come alone. If I see anyone else with you, I'll leave her behind. I want you to enjoy your last day, though. You were supposed to have your special ceremony today, right? So wear your wedding dress. It will probably have a big red mark on it soon, but wear it anyway. I want to share one more thing. Right now, I am hurting a lot. What I want most is to share that hurt with the two people who caused it. Taking your mother was meant to hurt you. I also want Jerry to feel the pain he caused me. So I want him to watch from a distance to see what happens to you. Your friend Dinah. As I read the letter, my mind raced. Get your rifle, I said. What? She asked, looking confused. Sandy, that tree is at least 200 yards from the wall, I explained. No one but you can make that shot. I grabbed another sword from the shelf in the weapons room. I've never seen you use that sword, Sandy said. It's different. It's the sword that an actor named Wesley Snipes used in a movie called Blade, I replied. It's unique, like a mix between a katana and an old gladiator's sword. But we'll talk about swords later. We have to take care of some issues now. She picked out her rifle. Sandy, did they make more than one wedding dress for you? I asked. No, she said. Why? Are there any other dresses similar to it? I asked again. No, silly, it's one of a kind. Our wedding is the first big event anyone has seen in a long time, she said proudly. Great, I said. I'll try not to mess it up. I need you to write a note to Dana. Dana. I could barely see the gate from where we were watching. The night before, we had left the note on the porch of my old house. Diego waited for Elizabeth to step out of the kitchen. We had both been in there a few times. The old woman really could cook. The dishes for the wedding were delicious. The big cake she made was her best work. The cake was so large that everyone in the community could have a slice or two. It should have been my cake. I wondered if they could use the cake for a party as well as a celebration. It seemed a shame to waste it. That evening, as Elizabeth left to go to the dorm with the rest of her staff, Diego quietly secured her in the back of the truck with the supplies we were allowed to take. Early this morning, Jesse checked around to make sure the camp was safe as we went through the gate. I really don't want things to end this way, Dana, he said. You're upset that you didn't have a chance to get closer, I replied. But at least you care that I'm leaving. So here's a little goodbye. I gave him a teasing look as I climbed into the truck with Diego, and we drove away. Now, a few hours later, Diego and I sat in front of the big tree. It felt right that this would be the place for an important moment. This was the same tree where she had tried to take my place in many ways. It was ideal because it was far enough from the wall that no one nearby could interfere. With a good head start, the only vehicle in the area that could catch us was Jerry's Mustang. I knew that when Sandy faced the outcome of her actions, Jerry would be too shocked to act right away. But once he got over the shock, he would want to take action. Two things could happen. He would either get in his car and follow us, thinking we were going to River Walk, or he would come after us with determination. I believed Jerry would never harm me. He cared for me too much to ever hurt me. Sure, he would stand up to Diego without a second thought, but he would never hurt me. With Sandy gone, maybe we could find our way back to each other eventually. It might take time, but it was possible. Even if Jerry could somehow harm me, it wouldn't matter too much. I felt incomplete without him. As we watched, the gate opened and someone in white appeared. Even from a distance, I recognized Sandy. I couldn't see her well. It was too far away, and the morning light was dim. But I knew her shape. I had spent time watching her over the past few days. I wondered what she had that I didn't. One thing was her slight limp from when I confronted her. As she came closer, it was clear she was trying to hide it. There were a few nearby Rabs, and someone from the wall shot at them. It took several tries to bring them down. Sandy could have managed them much better. You've caused too much trouble since you arrived, someone said. I should have dealt with you the day I learned about you and her. You knew she meant a lot to me. I was foolish to let you stay. You've kept causing problems. My weakness has brought a lot of pain to my people. You hurt Anita. You deceived us. The world is already facing enough challenges without us turning against each other. He raised his sword as Diego looked worried. I can't do it, Jerry said. As Jerry turned and looked at me, Diego pulled a dagger from his boot. Before he could act, Jerry quickly turned and struck. Diego fell down. Wow, Jerry said, surprised. He ran back to me and grabbed the white fabric. Phew! If I had gotten anything on this dress, I would have been in big trouble. He went over to the old lady and gently woke her up. As her eyes opened, he showed her the dress. "Mom, can we fix this in time for a wedding?" he asked. She looked at him, then hugged him tightly. She glanced at the fabric and smiled. Jerry picked her up and carried her to the truck while I stood there surprised. I thought he would say something to me. "What about me?" I called out. Jerry picked up the dress and placed it gently in the truck. "Jerry!" I shouted. "What are you going to do about me?" He walked over to me and sighed. He drew his sword fast, and for a moment I felt scared, but then I looked into his eyes. "Nothing," he said. "I'm not going to do anything." "I know you'd never hurt me, Jerry," I said. "You're upset with me, but there's still something between us." He handed me a piece of paper and nodded. "I guess I do," he said. "Maybe part of my heart will always be with you." "So what happens to me?" I asked. "You can't just leave me here." "The answers you want won't come from me," he replied. "Sven gets to decide, like always, right?" I asked. "Read the note and look to the gate," he said as he walked away. I couldn't believe he thought I should walk to the gate alone, but at least I knew I was on my way home. I looked at the note. The handwriting was pretty. Last time we spoke, I promised I wouldn't hold back, didn't I? As I started the truck, I glanced into the rearview mirror. I saw Dana looking at the note and then at the wall, the weight of the past moments filling the air with quiet. I felt uneasy as I stared at the scene. Then the figure fell, and a note slipped from her fingers. As the figure settled on the ground, the paper gently floated down and landed on top. Both rested not far from where Diego's eyes stared blankly. I drove the truck closer to the wall and noticed the gate was open. I understood right away the place was no longer guarded. It was a good day for a wedding after all. Sandy met me at the gate, hugging me happily. I smiled at her. Her mom jumped down from the truck in a hurry. "You two, step away. You're not supposed to see each other before the wedding," she said. "I have a lot of frosting to make." Sandy looked at me closely. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" I asked. I knew she had to leave. We could never be happy with her around. She was losing control, and I knew I couldn't handle it. "You had to." "But I didn't like her," she replied. "I promise I'll bring you happiness." I just laughed. "You already have," I said. But I could see that Sandy had other ideas. 9 months and 1 day later,